Hey, this is Dave from Rock and Reel Reviews, and you're listening to Podcast 3, aka End of Year Podcast. As always, I'm joined by my faithful companions from Rock and Reel Reviews. I have Baz.
Hello.
I have Duncan.
Alright.
Mark.
Nibar.
And Mikey. Mikey couldn't make it. Silence.
Deathly hush. Mikey died.
Mikey couldn't make it. This podcast due to work commitments. They had work commitments, so we'll let him. We'll give him a pass.
He travels the furthest, and then
he does.
he travels like
he does
3 hours to be with us or whatever it is.
I'd heard it was because he was dressing up as Santa in the Obans local shopping market. It's like a yearly thing he does, annually he gets the kids in the grotto. I'm just kidding. So anyway, just before we get into the meat of this stuff, a couple of announcements. Firstly, a couple of our members got married last month, Duncan and Mikey. Not to each other, obviously, but and my man Baz got engaged as well.
Hey!
Hey!
Hey! Just that, stick that in there.
Congratulations, Buzz.
That track that you heard just at the beginning there was a band called The Bastard Sons, and the track was called Hot Town from their EP Bones. They're a kind of punk band with a bit of a kind of southern hardcore kind of swagger. They've got a 6-track EP. It's out now on Lockjaw Records. We'll be playing that track at the end in full for you to check out, and definitely check out some other bands on Lockjaw. They've got a few good ones. Darko, Anchors and The Fear are albums that EPs that we've reviewed earlier this year. So go and check out them. There's also going to be a review going up for the Bastard Sons EP as well next week. So hopefully it'll be up at the same time as this podcast. Anyway, this is the end of year podcast, so we're going to be talking about stuff that we've liked and loathed over the last couple of months, and we're going to be talking about some of our highlights and lowlights of the year, and also what's coming up in 2013. So strap yourselves in for the next hour. We're going to be talking.
Strap yourselves in. Strap yourselves on.
Yep. We're going to be talking all things rock, metal, punk, and movies. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be the most fun you can have with your clothes on.
Brace yourselves.
And if you're listening to this naked, you're living the dream, my friend. Okay. So we're going to start off with movies for all you movie buffs out there. Things that we've liked and disliked in the last couple of months. So we're going to start off with something we didn't like so much. The first one is Taken 2, which was out 5-6 weeks ago here in the UK. I reviewed the film, but I suppose I was kind of looking forward to this film because of the last Taken film. I really liked. I really enjoyed the first Taken film, and Taken 2 was put together with the same writer that did Taken 1. So I was kind of looking forward to it, although kind of worried about how they were going to squeeze a second film out of this, to be honest, and that was pretty obvious because the plot was ridiculously thin on Taken 2, unfortunately. The story was briefly Liam Neeson got posted in Istanbul doing security for kind of high class businessmen. His wife and daughter decide to surprise him in Istanbul and have a kind of wee vacation with the family. Liam Neeson and his wife get kidnapped by the Albanians that were related to the Albanians in the first film.
It's all very coincidental, isn't it?
And the film goes on from there.
Catalogue of errors.
It really is. Yeah, it was pretty. The plot was very thin. The stuff I didn't like about this film, firstly, I think the main thing that spoiled it for me was the rating of the film. It was a 12A, which I think just completely killed the film altogether, to be honest. I know that the first Taken they released on DVD as a kind of 18, which kind of worked, but with this one in the cinema, 12A was just really poor.
Because when the first one came out, it was initially a 15.
It was a 15, and then they moved it to an 18.
They upped
Upped
the violence
for the DVD. The violence in this was very mild. There was pretty much no blood or kind of killing sequences at all. Really, it was one of these kind of when someone died or was killed, the camera kind of pulls away, so you didn't actually get to see what happens and all that. It was just full of that shit. It was just terrible. The one thing that really annoyed me was the kind of camera work of all the kind of action and fight scenes. It was really quick, really jumpy. It was really difficult to actually work out what was actually going on.
It's a Michael Bay special.
Aye, a wee bit it was.
Just
aye.
shake it about, make it look like something's happening.
Aye. There was numerous ridiculous set pieces in the film. The daughter throwing grenades about the place for them to explode, and then Liam Neeson would try and figure out where the boom was coming from to find out how far away she was and all that. It was just fucking stupid. Like, who believes that kind of shit?
We didn't have the resources to pay for clips, but we can do an impression. How quickly? Go to the closet, get one of my shoes, take my shoelace, draw 3 minutes circumference round the map. That's what it was like.
That actually happened in the film. Liam Neeson was alright in the film. He looked a wee bit more lethargic than the last time. He maybe put a wee bit of weight since the last film. He was a wee bit slower. The acting wasn't up to much at all, really. The daughter and the mother were just horrific. It was overall just predictable, really user friendly, and hopefully maybe the DVD is going to be better than the cinema release.
I don't think there's much hope for that, to be honest.
No.
Because it's surprising, like between you and I, the amount of people we've spoken to who actually liked it. Surprisingly, I don't know what they liked about it. I don't know if they saw the same film you and I saw.
I don't know. I was the same. Yeah.
I particularly liked the bit for your in your review. I thought it was pretty much sums it up when you say knives are wielded instead of used and bullets enter walls instead of bodies. That's pretty much it. And very, very thin.
Yeah, and the end fight sequence, what was that all about?
I didn't even know what happened.
No.
I had to ask folk. No.
So overall, really poor. I rated it about a 2 out of 5.
That was a generous one.
A pretty generous 2 out of 5. So check it out if you really, really want to. I suppose if you've seen the first one, you may as well watch the second one, but don't hold your breath for a great film, to be honest.
Keep your eyes peeled for Taken 3, which is already in the works at the moment.
It
took in that much money at the box office that it was inevitable that a third one was, and they've already signed up for it. So,
well, that Taken 2 it's been in the American box office for about 6 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and it taken like $125 million, which was more than any other film in that time period in America. It's just like mind blowing. Like
when we went to see it that night. The cinema, it was the showing we went to go to was sold out, and I think the next one was sold out, and the one that we did get into, we were in the last 3 or 4 seats that they had available. It was packed.
How many times can the same person get fucking kidnapped?
Well,
I've not seen it. I've not seen the first one either, in fairness, but it reminds me of the early seasons of 24 and that Alicia Cuthbert. just stay in the fucking house, because every time you go out, you get fucking kidnapped. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rent a fucking DVD. Just have a night in.
That's what I say, guys. So that's Taken 2. I'm not going to go into any more detail on it, really. That's pretty much all you need to know about it.
Do you think it was partly because we had high expectations for the first one?
Possibly. I really enjoyed the first one. I thought it was a really good film.
When the first one came out, though, you've got to remember, and no one that made the first one expected it to become as big as it did.
Yeah.
It's essentially a revenge grindhouse film. It's a B-movie at best, and it sold a lot. Didn't necessarily do particularly well at the cinema. It was the DVD sales and the DVD rentals afterwards that pretty much propelled that film into cult status.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to follow up something like that. You end up going into Die Hard territory, where there's a fifth one of that coming up now, and you get to that stage where you basically run out of ideas. It's a bit of a shame it ran out in its ideas in the second one, though. It usually takes them about 3 or 4 to lose it, but
so I'm not looking forward to Taken 3, to be honest, but I'll probably still watch it.
I'll watch it. I'll get another chance.
Yeah.
But
so that's Taken 2. Next on the list, probably one of the biggest releases of the year, aside from kind of Batman, but Skyfall, the newest James Bond film. A couple of the guys went to see it.
Yep.
What did you reckon? What did you think?
Well, it's 50 years of Bond this year, so in a lot of respects, this was going to be one of these films that was going to be used as like a testing poll to see how popular the franchise could be going into the future. The previous two, which had Daniel Craig in it, Casino Royale, which I quite enjoyed, I thought was certainly better than anything that Brosnan had been in prior to that. But The Quantum of Solace, which was previous film to this one. I didn't like it at all. I thought the emphasis was too much on action and not enough on story. It wasn't really a spy in it. It was more like some sort of, I don't know. It's just like it's almost like some sort of terrorist stopper. I didn't really like it, and I can't even remember who the villain was. That's how poor it is. You can always remember who the Bond villain is. Can't remember who the Bond villain was in Quantum of Solace. So
Quantum of Solace. It was the French bloke. The guy. He was in The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, and he was in.
Well, I honestly, genuinely, I've seen the film twice as well. I can't. I just remember it wasn't all that good, in my opinion, anyway. So Skyfall was basically their chance to test to see how popular a franchise could be going forward, and in my eyes, it proved quite well. Actually, I didn't dislike the film. I won't go as far as a lot of reviewers have been going with saying it's the best Bond film. I don't think it's the best Bond film, not by a long shot. There's a noticeable part. It's the film. It kind of reminds me in some respects of Death Proof, the Quentin Tarantino film, which is basically it's like a kind of like a revenge horror, which is noticeably two films. It looks like two films. At one point in the film, it just becomes something completely different. That's what I thought of Skyfall. At some point, he stops being James Bond, international man of mystery, sleuth with all the gadgets and all the rest, and it's been compared, and I can see why, to Home Alone, because it almost becomes like a house invasion towards the end, where he's using homemade booby traps, and guys are stepping on things, and all that's missing is paint cans falling down, and a wee boy going ah! But
Kermode compared it to Straw Dogs.
Oh right, well, I could see the comparison with that. I thought I liked it. I think Daniel Craig is a good Bond. I still don't think he's the best Bond, but this is only his third film, so I don't think we can measure him on that too far. I think that the bad guy in it, what's it, Javier Bardem,
Javier Bardem
is fucking brilliant. He's a really, really good baddie, but I don't know what makes him such a good baddie, if you know what I mean. I liked his screen presence, but he's not got a cave headquarters, under fucking volcanoes or anything like that. He's a guy. Well,
he kind of does.
Yeah, but not to the same cheesy extent, I would say. But his whole weapons are based around computer technology. Yeah. He's the computer man, essentially. And I don't know. What did you think, Mark?
I think you'll find I'm a computer man, so
Mark was there with me. Me and Mark went to see it at the same time.
Yeah,
so
I really enjoyed it as well. It was, aye. A bit of romance. I really enjoyed it as well. What I definitely thought about it was it's not. I don't think it was a Bond film in the traditional sense at all. There's next to no gadgets in it. The one gadget he gets, he doesn't even use.
Yeah, that's kind of pointless.
And it does devolve quickly into a really gritty, like you're talking, without trying to spoil it, there is that kind of Home Alone aspect to it that I actually really liked, and I thought that was one of the coolest things about the film, but it wasn't anything, it did not have the tone of a Bond film at all, and to me it didn't even have the tone really of the previous Bond films, other than the fact, like even the Daniel Craig ones, other than the fact he was in it. But I like him as Bond. I think he's a really good screen presence. And like you said, I liked Javier Bardem, or however you pronounce it.
I liked it. I don't think, once again, he's not the best Bond villain. I
don't think so either.
Too many people get caught up in the hype of the fact that it is 50 years of Bond, and I think I think a lot of that carried it through. A lot of people wanted the film to do really well, and it did deliver a lot of the aspects. But I mean, when you take into account that things have moved on so much since the early days of Bond now, I mean, it's a different environment that you can't keep churning at the same sort of Bond film anymore, because people just lost interest. That kind of cheesy, suave, sophisticated sort of spy doesn't really sell as well as a spy that fucking can blow up buildings from a distance, and it's martial arts expert and all the rest. That's what sells now, and I think Daniel Craig does it well without being, like a kind of brainless action star.
Without being unbelievable.
I think he's certainly one of the better Bonds, but cool. Like I say, I quite enjoyed the film.
Nice. Baz, anything you want to say about it?
I would like to weigh in at this point, David. Just off the back of particularly something Duncan's just said there, I've never been a Bond fan, to the point that I've never actually seen a whole Bond movie. I've seen bits of Bond movies. Now this comes back being the elder statesman of RockandRollReviews.com. when I was younger, Star Wars was the big film at the time. It was coming out in the cinemas, your Indiana Jones and all that, and I was very, very into those as a child. The Bond films used to come on the telly every Christmas, and in those days we only had 3 channels. And you would get, it was on fucking Christmas night, you would get Moonraker at 7 o'clock or something like that, and I just never really fucking dug them. But with the release of Skyfall and being involved with the reviews site now, I made an attempt the other night to watch one of the Bond films, because Sky have been showing like hundreds of them in the lead up to Skyfall coming out. And I watched Casino Royale.
I think there's only about 50.
What did I say?
Hundreds.
Hundreds. Anyway, I watched Casino Royale.
Nice.
The original or the...
Not the one with Daniel Craig in it. When I say I watched Casino Royale, I watched the first 40 minutes of Casino Royale and then I was bored out my hoop and I turned off. And it turns out I have been right all these years. They are shite. And as for Daniel Craig being the realistic Bond, the bit where he's jumping about the top of that crane was fucking ludicrous. He would have fallen to his death about 18 different occasions. Not a safety helmet in fucking sight either, isn't it? I mean, it was reckless if it was anything. No, I just didn't enjoy it. I just don't get Bond. And I thought maybe with these newer ones, like the Daniel Craig ones, I know it has supposed to have been a bit edgier and a wee bit less of the fucking tuxedos and martinis and a wee bit kind of more street.
Yeah.
I can
Still
tell you
didn't
now
enjoy
that
it.
if you weren't a fan of Bond before, then I'm pretty much going to go out on a limb and say Skyfall's not a film for you. Then
Aye.
Well,
I think there's too much. I think they hammer too much of the whole kind of the Bond thing, if you know what I mean.
I don't know. I think because it's a wee bit different, it's a bit grittier and a bit more. You know, that's what I mean. I kind of almost watched it like it wasn't a Bond film.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You might enjoy it if you're not a Bond fan.
Cool. What would you kind of rate it? Say,
I would give
Did
it.
we review it?
No. I would give it.
Sorry.
I would give it a comfortable 3 or 3.5. I wouldn't go beyond a 3.5. While I was entertained, I wasn't sitting there going, "This is film of the year."
Aye.
Completely agree. 3, push 3.5.
Yeah.
But really a 3.
Yeah, I'd say comfortable 3.
But really
3.
2.
I
No, a 3. A 3.
Excellent. Okay, doke. Skyfall. Yep. So next film on our list. This is I suppose a wee bit an exclusive, I suppose.
It's an exclusive.
Unless you're sitting in the States.
Unless
Listen
you're
to
in
this.
America, then it's not an exclusive at all. You've probably seen it already. The next film we're going to cover is a film called Cloud Atlas. Now, our brother at Rock and Roll Reviews, Mark, was lucky enough to be in the Sunshine State of Florida a couple of weeks ago and managed to catch this film, Cloud Atlas. It's not actually out in the UK till March next year, did you think, roughly?
I think it's scheduled for March here.
Right, okay. So Mark's going to give us a wee overview of the film. So have a listen to this. What do you think?
Well, Cloud Atlas, the reason I was interested to go and see this is it's the new film from the Wachowskis. The Wachowskis that did the Matrix trilogy, that's what they're most famous for. I say the Wachowskis as opposed to the Wachowski brothers because one of them is now a woman. Yeah, did you know that?
No.
No, it's Andy and Larry Wachowski is now Andy and Lana Wachowski, and she's at full post-op, the whole lot.
Well,
Not
now
even
you've piqued my interest.
now, like not even recognisable as the same person. And I had read some crap about this years ago in the Inquirer, and I thought, oh, that's just the Inquirer talking Hollywood nonsense, gossip. But it turned out, he was actually going for the change and stuff. Anyway, that kind of weirded me out a wee bit, so I'm a wee bit apprehensive about approaching this film now. But really wanted to see it because I've seen the trailer, and if you've seen the trailer for it, the trailer's about, what, 5-6 minutes long,
Aye,
something like that. Really long trailer, and the reason for that is because the film itself is about 3 hours long, and it's really about, without putting too fine a point in it, it's really about everything, and it's not really about everything, but it's about it encompasses all life, and the idea is that it's showing you different characters for different points in time, right? So for years back in the past and the future and all the rest of it, but they've got the same actors playing a lot of the roles. So Tom Hanks plays like 5 different people in it, and the makeup is absolutely incredible, and so much so that until the end, when it's showing you in the credits who played who, and it's showing you a picture of them and coming up with the actor's name, there was some of them that were sitting there going, I can't believe it, because I didn't know during the film that was who it was, even though they'd been in the film playing someone else. So the whole it's a difficult one to kind of theme and explain anything about without kind of giving away a lot of the story. It did feel like a long film as well, I'll say that about it. It felt like 3 hours, but it was at no point boring, I didn't think. A lot of character building, a lot of funny moments as well. And I went to see it in the AMC theatre in downtown Disney, and it was kind of funny going to Disney to see a film and then hearing somebody in the film shouting the word cunt in Disney World. I thought that was kind of funny. But the actual film is, I suppose you could peg it as sci-fi to some extent, although but that's just because partly it's based in the future. There's a couple of stories actually kind of based in the future, but there's at least 5 separate stories going on at different points in time. I would really recommend this film if you like something that you know. I wouldn't recommend it to Barry.
No, it sounds like Love Actually. To be quite fucking honest. I'm probably just going to save my money for taking 3.
That'll be Lana Wachowski's kind of. I'll be hard take on it.
It's I think if you need patience to sit down and watch it, basically. If Baz can't make it through Moonraker, well then I don't know. But
thanks for the warning.
But if you know what the Wachowski have done, they also did Speed Racer. They did.
I quite enjoyed Speed Racer.
It was alright.
Did you not?
It was alright. Was it? But the thing that a lot of people are saying about this film is basically that, you know, because The Matrix was such a massive undertaking, technically difficult, a lot of themes running through it. This is the same sort of thing. And this is why I was so impressed with it, is because it's extremely ambitious. It's a massive kind of production. You get the feeling it must have cost a bomb to make, and it's dealing with so many things, so many balls in the air that it's juggling with, and the editing between it you'll see when you go and see it, the editing must have been a beast, and I just thought it was a great film, and all the way through it I was there with my mate Fritz, we sat and watched it, and he all the way through it I thought he's probably not enjoying this, it's probably not his kind of film, and at the end I turned to him and says, what do you think? He's like, I loved it. so I was surprised to hear that. But I also loved it. I thought it was a really great film, possibly even a top 5 contender.
Stay tuned for the review coming soon of Cloud Atlas. There we go. So that is our movies, Taken 2, Skyfall and Cloud Atlas. We'll be coming back to films later on. We're talking about upcoming films in 2013. We're going to swiftly move on to albums now. We've got quite a few to cover, so I'm going to try and get through these rather quick. First one on the list is my man Duncan, and it's the latest. Pretty much all these reviews, all these albums we're going to talk about were 5 out of 5 on the website, apart from the last one, which we'll get to. So the first one we're going to talk about is the latest Down EP, the Purple EP.
Yep.
Duncan, you reviewed it, so what would you say about the Down EP?
If you're a Down fan, then this is the must-have purchase of the year. This is Down returning after, I think it's about 4, possibly 5 years since their last album, the third album, and they've decided to, because they're all in different bands and all doing different projects, they've decided to split things down to EP level, and their plan is to make 4 EPs essentially over, I think it's 2 years, which is fairly ambitious for them. And like I said in the previous podcast, they've already said there'll be 3 next year. You'll be lucky if you hear 1 next year. I think it's more realistic. But each one of these releases is going to deal with a different kind of facet of what the band actually does overall in their sound. So this one kind of harked back to the kind of old school, kind of stonery, sludgy things, kind of influence of the kind of almost Iommi-esque sort of guitars from Black Sabbath, that kind of vibe. They're back recording in Phil's warehouse, dubbed it Nosferatu's Lair, which they've recorded I think the last couple in, and the emphasis they wanted to do in this one was they believed that the last album was too overproduced, which I would argue I didn't think it was, but they've really stripped it right back, so it does sound like a band jamming in a in a hut basically.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome though, it really is, and I will admit to a degree of bias because I love Down, I love Phil Anselmo, but the riffs on this EP are fucking stunning. I mean, Kirk and who's the other one again?
Kirk Winstein
and
Pepper Keenan.
Between the two of them, the riffs are and there's nothing hugely complicated going, but the grooves are just there, every single one of them. Phil Anselmo does very little screaming at all, if any. It's mostly sung, and his vocals for me carry it through. His lyrics are still really, really entertaining. Even if you listen to the single from it's Witch Tripper, which has a bit of tongue-in-cheek about it, the band decided to... Phil Anselmo apparently hates people picking names of songs without the lyrics being done, and they came to him and basically said, you know, we've got to call a song Witch Tripper, and he's like, no, I don't like that idea. And then the guys went away and wrote the guitar riffs and come back and let him hear, and he's like, oh, you want Witch Tripper, I'll give you Witch Tripper. And it's fucking brilliant. It's an EP, it's only 6 tracks long, so you're really getting condensed. There's no filler track. That's the beauty of EP releases. It's just brilliant. I gave it a 5 out of 5 solely because I have listened to it. I don't even want to count. I could probably check my iTunes account and see how much I've listened to it. I would reckon it's easily about 30 times, and I'm still not bored of it. I think it is probably it's up there in my opinion. It's up there with Nola. I think it's the closest they've got to the kind of songwriting that Nola had, and they went off and done various bits and bobs since. But if this is a precursor to what's coming out next year, I can't fucking wait. I can't really say much more about it. If you get a chance, check it out. If you like your stoner sludge stuff, check it out. If you like things by the other bands, if you're into Crowbar or Pantera to an extent, or I Hate God or anything like that, you need to check this out. It's brilliant.
Excellent. Yep. I totally agree. Yeah, I loved it as well. I thought it was an absolutely fantastic EP. And again, it's really addictive. Once you hear it once, you think, oh, listen to it again. It's only 6 tracks, so you can fire through it pretty quick.
I listened to it the other day for the first time. I'm not that familiar with Down. I was a big Anselmo fan when he was in Pantera and that. I maybe need to give it more of a listen. It didn't grab me, I'm not going to lie. I listened to it and I found by about track 3 my mind was kind of wandering to other things when I was listening to it. I found it hard, not being familiar with the earlier stuff, I found it hard to equate it to Phil Anselmo. Because I'm used to him roaring his gut suit on Vulgar Display of Power and things like that. Musically and song-wise, it's a very accomplished piece of work, do you know what I mean? But it didn't really grab me the way, obviously you are big fans, but it didn't grab me that way.
Yeah.
Never say it was a bad record.
Cool. That was our first 5-star. We had quite a lot over the last couple of months, a lot of 5 stars. Second 5-star is a band that I hadn't really heard anything about, to be honest. They were called Wilkinson Blades, and my man Baz reviewed the album 4am. Want to give us a wee overview on 4am, Wilkinson Blades?
Will do, Dave. The same as yourself, I'd never heard of the band before, and to be quite honest, I don't think anybody has ever heard of this band before. No. They are just a wee outfit from Portland in Oregon. It's their first recorded output. It's out on a wee independent label. It just so happened that one of the PR guys that we deal with popped into your inbox, sent it around, and it just fucking blew my mind for the minute I listened to it. I'm a big fan of kind of American alternative rock and stuff like that, and I've read a lot about it as well. And everybody's kind of familiar with the Seattle scene, obviously with grunge and all that taking off from there. But Portland was actually always the sort of Pacific Northwest hub in terms of music. It predated the Seattle scene. It's still going, whereas the Seattle scene's kind of all drifted away and everything now. And there are countless bands have come out of there. In fact, I said in the review, Johnny Marr for the Smiths actually moved to Portland for the music scene out there. He lives out in Portland now, aye. The Wilkinson Blades album, it's a kind of... I was going to call it strange. It's not strange at all, because it's a very tuneful, very melodic wee album. It's eclectic. There's a lot of different stuff on there. But as I kept trying to stress, it flows together. It's a lot of these bands nowadays, they're coming out and they're bringing one song's a fucking swing song and the next thing's death metal and that, and it just sounds like a fucking tribute. Now that's what I call fucking music album or something. 4am 4 AM doesn't come across like that. It just flows beautifully. The fella Wilkinson, who's built the band around himself, kind of thing.
Can I ask Barry?
Yes.
Who is one of these bands that has a swing song followed by a death metal song?
I don't know if they're out there, man. You know what I mean? You horrible wee shites. And the fella Wilkinson, his vocal range is fucking amazing. In fact, in the first song, he sounds like Neil Diamond. I don't know if any of you ever heard Neil Diamond's album 12 Songs, which is the one he did with Rick Rubin. It was this kind of comeback, kind of edgy fucking album. It's a very good album,
Sweet
actually.
Carol, what's that? Sweet Caroline, is that Neil Diamond?
Aye, that Neil Diamond. He's done other fucking songs. Aye.
It's Rick Rubin was up here. Rubin did Johnny Cash, he
Neil
did
Diamond's
Vanilla Ice, did he know?
Neil Diamond's a funny one though, because like folks mention it and they're kind of like, any kind of Neil Diamond fans in the house, you know, and then somebody will go, I quite like him, and then they go, oh well, that's alright then, you're comfortable then.
The dirty secrets. In terms of the music, there's kind of country influences there. They sound a wee bit like the Jayhawks. There's a song that just really sounds like Tom Waits. If you've ever heard the Rain Dogs album by Tom Waits, it's almost a rip-off of that kind of thing, but it's just done so well. I didn't intend for this to be a 5, but as I was sitting actually writing the review and I was listening to it over and over and listening to different tracks, it just, every time I fucking listened to it, it get better. And like I said in some of my other reviews, it just had that something that made it different for all the others. There's been some fucking brilliant albums that we've reviewed that we've maybe given 4s, 4.5s. Because to me it needs something special, and this album really has it. They were absolutely fucking delighted with the review as well. I noticed they were pretty stoked. I think they're pretty excited, and they are talking about trying to come over to Europe next year, which I am fucking delighted about.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I really enjoyed it actually. It was you told me to check it out on the last podcast after I mentioned Crazy Arm. So if you like Crazy Arm, check these guys out. And not the sort of stuff that I would easily just sit down and listen to from start to finish, but the music is really well written and they have their own sound.
Yes.
You know, you're talking about bands that they have a defined sound and they don't really stray from it, but they don't have to because they write really well with that sound. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great release.
Excellent. So check that one out. That's Wilkinson Blades. Album's called 4 AM. It's out now. Okay, next one on the list is the North Carolina progressive metal band Between the Buried and Me, and they just released their 7th album. I'm just going to shorten it to Parallax 2. I'm not going to give it the full whack title, but
What is the full title, Dave?
Parallax 2, the Future Sequence or something like that.
That's the one. Future Sequence.
Future Sequence, yeah. See, I knew it was in there. I just thought shorten it. Parallax 2.
It's not the longest title in the world there, Dave.
Alright, to be honest, my mind was blank. All I could think of was Parallax 2. Think on my feet.
He needs to stop putting fucking people on the spot here, Dave. Oh, order him, sir.
I'm probably going to get it tight now.
Yeah, Mark, you did the review, and actually also got to meet the band.
Yes,
You did a wee interview with them as well.
I did.
But firstly, tell us about Parallax 2, the Future Sequence.
Okay, right. I'm a big Between the Buried and Me fan. I've been for a long time. And this album, my first listen, the situation was, I went away through to have a lie down in the bed, put it on mine or try to listen to it through the iPad, put it on the iPad through headphones, close my eyes and just listen to it, and it absolutely melted me, blew me away. And I don't know if it was because initially I was in the right frame of mind just to hear it or what, but it absolutely blew me away with what they'd done with it. Because I don't even know, I wouldn't even necessarily say it's their best album. Also, I should probably say at this point, I didn't up to now hadn't really believed in 5-star reviews, as you
Don't believe in 5-star reviews,
because I always think there's always room.
Goblins, unicorns, and 5-star reviews.
Aye.
Mythical beasts.
There's a leprechaun in a fucking rating. So I was I was a bit apprehensive to do that, because I always generally feel there's room for improvement, and I think 5 stars should always be reserved for the absolute best things you've ever heard. And this, just the emotion that came across in it, because I know a lot of the stuff that's in the album is quite busy and all over the place, but then whenever it contrasts into singing or a a quiet guitar piece or something like that, it's just emotionally shattering at times. It's just so good. Then the second listen, I was like, maybe I've overjudged this. Maybe it's no
What's it now?
overjudged it.
I thought you said jizzed.
I
It's like half the bed, you dirty bastard.
well, maybe I've overjudged it. Maybe I've overjudged it and overjudged it. And I wasn't sure, and I thought, I'm not sure. And then I listened to it again, and I went, this time I think I just was in the right frame of mind again, and I felt all the things I felt the first time. So I was lying in bed, listening to the album. So I was really quite taken with the album. It absolutely blew me away. I still think that Colours and The Great Misdirect are probably, to me, are probably the best two. But on the first listen to this album, I did think this could possibly be the best album. It is, as I say, there's a lot of musicianship and it's phenomenal. A lot of busy guitars, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff to wrap your head round, but also a lot of stuff that you can approach and grasp onto. Worth a listen, definitely. Not everyone necessarily will like it, but but I thought it was definitely deserved of the 5 stars.
Yeah.
And yes, I did luckily get a chance to have a wee interview with them, a wee catch up.
How was that?
That was awesome. Just sort of meeting them in person, and they were all really nice guys, you know, and they all was quite happy to talk to you about whatever, you know. And
Any jizzing?
there was no jizzing at that point, no, because there was a room full of folk. Maybe a bit jizzing after, but I am of course kidding. But it was a really interesting conversation I had. It was Paul that essentially I had the interview with, although Tommy and some of the other guys were there as well. So you can read the interview on the website.
What's the website again?
rockandrollreviews.com. And interestingly enough, you'll find, for Periphery fans out there, Michel Bold-Mansour happened to be in the room at the time as well, and he was kind of slightly partaking in the interview, so there's wee bits of that in there as well if you're a Periphery fan. And there's a Periphery interview on the website as well for the same night. But yeah, I definitely, I think the album's awesome. What did you guys think it?
I liked the album. I would have probably wouldn't have said it was their best album, but I still think Colours is probably their best, my favourite album of theirs anyway. But still a high scoring album. I still put it up in the kind of 4 out of 5 kind of range. Very impressive musically to listen to. And a lot of really nice contrasts and textures on the album, definitely worth checking out.
You know, I think the production as well, for the
production.
Instrumentation, you can pick out
definitely.
everything clear as a bell, because it is a busy album in sections. There are, you know, it can get really quite busy, but you can still comfortably sit there and pick out everything. I'm with you guys. I don't think it's our best album. I think
you need to listen to it in bed, Duncan.
well, I don't think it's our best album, but what I would
Covered in your own years.
But what I would say about it is that there's a lot of bands putting out very kind of fairly generic sounding albums, or maybe almost going to the Bass point about flinging a song in here that does this and that. Like, they're one of the few bands that actually does it really fucking well, and they can take you on a roller coaster in one song through maybe 3 or 4 different kind of genres, and they make it sound seamless.
They have bits that sound like circus music and
Oh,
stuff,
and
then
it
it gets
just-
blended into death metal.
It just fits.
See,
perfect.
there we go. There's one. Between the buried and me. There we go, that. Swing beat, jazz fusion, death metal shite.
No, but no. I don't know.
They can do it well. They do it really well.
I've not heard it, but I like it because it sounds like a laxative. Suffering from fecal compaction? Try Parallax 2. Guaranteed to shift that shite. That's all I've got to put in that one.
Thank you.
I'm
Yeah, so
glad
that's
you liked it.
yeah.
As well.
No, it was definitely a good album. I love his vocals as well. His vocals are superb.
aye.
Like
There's
his
great
clean stuff
vocals,
is
yeah.
brilliant.
It really is.
Yeah, so that's Between the Buried and Me, Parallax 2. Check that one out. It's out now, and it was another 5-star review. Okay, one more album, and then we've got another. Then we've got one right at the end, which isn't going to be.
We'll not spend long on that.
No.
2 more albums then.
So two. Well, technically one's an album, one's an EP. If you want to get, go into details about it, but So the next one is oh, what's happening here? You're another fucking cupcake.
Aye.
Fuck's sake.
They're fucking good, right?
Okay.
Every time we do this, he fucking wrecks it with a cupcake antic.
That's why they call me the Cupcake Crusher.
So next album, next one was one that I reviewed. This one, the way this one came about was a few months before its release. Mark had sent us a link to a video by a band called 12 Foot Ninja, and the album they released was called Silent Machine. Now 12 Foot Ninja released a song. Basically 12 songs, and they released a song every. Was it every 2 weeks or every month they released a song before the release of this album. So Mark had sent us a track called Mother Sky.
Yeah.
And we'd heard it and we all really liked it.
I loved it.
Really enjoyed the track. And it was kind of decided there that it'd be either Duncan or Mark that was going to review the album when it came in. Now, one thing led to another. The album, we got the album.
rank.
I pulled rank. Okay, right, fair enough. We got the album just at the start of November. Mark was away on holiday. Duncan was going, getting married, going on his honeymoon. So I just, I thought, someone needs to review this.
Me. Fucking thanks very much.
Mark, if there's ever a band that was like the band you're describing.
Okay, right, I'm not going to lie, I pulled rank. I heard the album and I wanted to do it myself. Alright, he's happy? Okay. Yeah, so the band's called 12 Foot Ninja, the album's called Silent Machine. The band are from Melbourne, Australia, and I suppose if you had to kind of narrow them down to a style or genre, they're probably a progressive metal band overall, but they are very experimental within that, and that they use they kind of combine metal, kind of progressive metal, a bit of Latin, bit of reggae. There's a wee bit of dubstep on the album.
Disco.
Very few genres who don't actually manage to put into that one album, which is
post-rock stuff. There's pretty much a bit of everything on it. For me, I don't know what it was. I heard the album the first listen to it, and it just absolutely blew me away. The track that Mark let us hear, Mother Sky, I think that was their first single, Mother Sky. And then they've since released another one called Coming For You, which is the album opener. So there's 2 videos on YouTube if you want to check them out. If you can imagine the album, it's kind of like the kind of progressive kind of metal stuff. Imagine the kind of offbeat rhythms, the kind of like Periphery. Mix it with Circles from Australia. Give it a bit of kind of soulful vocals a la Mike Patton, Faith No More, and then throw in like just a bag full of styles, kind of like Between the Buried and Me a wee bit, and that's kind of their sound. It's very, very off the wall, but they absolutely nail it. Every track is different. There's a bit of everything on it, but they managed to pull it all together, and it doesn't sound disjointed or out of place. It's just really a real kind of cohesive album. First listen, I rated it pretty high. I would have probably put it about the 4.5 out of 5. Since then, I've listened to it probably in excess of 30 times, I would say, so far, and it just got better. Every time I listened to it, it got better and better, and it just blew me away. Absolutely amazing album.
Do you not think you're obviously you can easily make the argument about the Between the Buried and Me 12 Foot Ninja, but I think 12 Foot Ninja, I don't even know if they intend to be, but they're incredibly commercial sounding. I think he's another vocalist that's, it's got not a unique sound, but it's got a really, really nice, clean sound.
Yeah.
His melodies are incredibly memorable. They stick in your head. I'd sing along to that album since I got it. It's fucking brilliant. But I think I can imagine that shifting a lot of albums if marketed the right way.
Yeah, sure.
I just think it's brilliant. I think I totally agree with you. It's one of these ones that's blindsided me, and I will be very surprised at my end of year list if it's not in the top 5.
Yeah.
Something I think is interesting as well, in case people are wondering when they're listening to us explain that about the baggy styles that they mix. The way they do it is they'll maybe play like the main riff is like a metal riff, and then the next section, which could be the verse, is well Coming For You is the example. It's kind of Latinish American kind of I don't know. It's got a funny kind of and it just cuts to it straight away. Then it jumps into a wee pre-chorus bit that's disco, and then it jumps back into the metal riff, and it sounds very like the way I'm explaining it sounds like it's been really chopped and clipped together, but it's not. It doesn't sound like that when you listen to it. It sounds really fluent. In spite of the fact there's all these different sections in every song, pretty much.
They remind me a lot, and it's not just because that single does sound a bit like Dog Fashion Disco, but as a band, the second Dog Fashion Disco album, I think it's Committed to a Brighter Future. It reminds me of that because that album is, and they're heavily influenced by the kind of Mike Patton, Mr. Bungle side of things.
Yeah.
But they throw a fucking shitload of styles, and that album is full of everything from jazz to punk to pop. There's even a cover, Greases the Word on it, you know, and all that sort of thing. And it reminds me of that, but they do it so much better. They do it so much more.
It's 12 Foot Ninja.
Yeah, they do it so much better than what Dog Fashion Disco certainly are in the same sort of ballpark, but they are like head and shoulders above.
Because this is their debut album, isn't it?
Yep.
They've had an EP.
An EP out
Have they?
before. Yeah.
Do you not think they sound?
2 EPs apparently.
Do you think they sound like remarkably comfortable as a band with their sound?
Yeah.
They sound like it sounds like it's a sound that's been developed over 5
I don't know how they're going to do it
yeah.
live,
I don't
to be
know.
honest, because they switch instrumentation goes quite. I don't know how much is that going to be triggered off if they're going to have additional musicians.
It's
on.
funny. The kind of Circles kind of influence on it. They're actually touring with Circles in Australia just now, which is quite weird.
They've toured with
well, it's
Periphery as
interesting.
well. The Periphery.
Because I can definitely hear that sound kind of coming through. Wee bits of electronics in the background and the kind of styles of the riffs and stuff like that.
It's funny you keep mentioning Mike Patton quite a lot, and the boy that sings on it he's very reminiscent of Mike Patton.
Yeah.
I listened to it for the first time earlier on during the week there, not expecting to like it. I had it in my head, I don't know, I think because you'd reviewed it, I had equated it to Pig Destroyer. That's what I was expecting, something like that.
Right.
You know,
Hardcore days,
like
like,
grindcore kind of stuff or something like that.
Just hold me baz, is that it? That'll be Dave, that'll be fucking Pig Destroyer.
And
But
I
you
stuck it
still
on
man.
and listened to it, and I've got to say I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, I wouldn't have maybe had it a 5, but I did. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But the reaction it got from me
Hang on a minute,
listening
Baz.
to it,
You like this album, did you?
and I'm about to tell you why before you jump in with your snidey ass comment. When I was in 6th year at the school, Faith Memorial released The Real Thing, which was their first album with Patton. And me and my friends got very heavily into that in 6th year kind of thing, and I remember playing like the common room and that a lot, and even lassies that fucking were into Bros and stuff like that at that time all quite liked that album. It was very accessible, there's some very heavy parts to it, and the mix, and this reminded me so much of that album in terms of it. But it's a good example. I know what you're about to say, you know, you're saying these ones that jump. I like Diablo Swing Orchestra as well.
Yeah,
They were a fine example.
yeah.
But what I meant earlier on is a lot of bands do it really fucking badly. They do change to try and be fucking quirky and they fucking wreck it. This band don't at all.
Aye,
This is
they're
a
good.
fucking fine example of, you know,
The thing is-
that's been well done.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. Well, you said the Diablo Swing Orchestra. Say they're an example of a band I think who do it the other way around, where they mix all these styles, but they do it consistently throughout each song or throughout each album. You know, every bit you hear is a mixture of styles. Whereas 12 Foot Ninja have very clean cuts between each style that they play.
You can be listening to a good like 2 minutes or one of the song before a metal riff kicks in. You know what I mean? And then, but when it does kick in, you're not like, oh, you know, it's swung away by the fact there's a metal riff. Oh, this will ruin it. No,
It just finishes it. Aye,
It just fits. Brilliant!
It's the frosting on the cupcake, is what it is.
It is.
The frosting
Frosting
on
on the cupcake.
I was when I interviewed Jake for Periphery. He had, when I asked him about an album he'd recommend, that was the album that he recommended.
Oh, there's
He
two
says
of them,
Is that right enough?
he'd sent him the like an advanced copy of it, and they said it was just exactly what you're saying. He was blown away with it and whatnot. So, do you think the name of the band as well? Do you know what it reminds me? Do you think it comes from Shinobi? Remember the game Shinobi?
It could be.
And the boss was like a big 12-foot
Yeah,
ninja.
Yeah.
That's what it makes me think.
Because the videos and stuff, they're usually in some form of kind of
Ninja costume,
There's like a
ninja
track on it.
attire.
Yeah, there's a track on the front cover artwork. Is a shuriken, and there's a track on
That's
it
right.
called Shuriken. So, so there you go.
Could be. Yeah. So
Interesting wee article on the BBC website last week about ninjas, Dave, as well.
Yes, I read it, and I was
Actual real ninjas, not 12-foot ones.
and I was actually
Actual
very
real
sad
ninjas.
when I read it.
It's quite sad, yeah, there's only 2 of them left. 2 ninja grandmasters in the whole of Japan. And they're not going to name a successor. They're going to let it die.
That's very Japanese of them.
That's
I
a
love
shame,
the
right?
Japanese. Big up.
I genuinely was sad when I read that, because I didn't even know there was any left.
I know.
And it's like, they're here, they're still here, and they're not going to have any
I'm
more.
pretty sure they've trained Steven Seagal though. before
definitely.
Seagal, no.
I'm
Take
hoping they're
over.
going to do a tour. If they monk kids can do it, then surely the old ninjas can do it.
The reasoning for letting it
Fingers
die.
crossed.
The reason for
Fingers
letting it
crossed.
die was because they said there's no place for ninjas in the modern age with computers and guns.
Computers and guns. Thanks
They ruin
Aye.
everything. They ruin everything.
That's it.
That and
Stop-
kids.
Stop this
for
with your
thanks for downloading the podcast.
moving on.
Okay, yeah, so that was 12 Foot Ninja. If you're looking for something a bit fresh and unpredictable, then definitely check that out.
But let's just stress again, they are not actually ninjas.
They're not.
That was a separate conversation.
Yes.
Or are they? They do dress in ninja attire in their videos.
To be continued. To be continued. We'll come back to this in a later podcast. Well, not really. Okay, so last on the list is one release that we didn't really like.
Collectively, I think we can say
Collectively didn't like.
that now. Wasn't just me.
Duncan reviewed it. It was a band from the Netherlands, and they were called Laster. This is their first EP.
Yep.
Yep. And it's only, is it 3 tracks long? It's
Three tracks long.
Not a long EP. Duncan did the review for it, and I'll let him explain, but there was a bit of a backlash, so to speak.
All never happens when I give something a bad review
Yeah,
that people
true.
decide to start fucking writing back.
True.
But yeah, we got this one ages ago, and I remember listening to it when I had a bit of free time, which I've done on the iPod, listened to it, and I got maybe about less than a minute into the first song and I switched it off. I did not like it, and at the time we were discussing the Duncan's Quickies thing, which is up on YouTube if you get a chance, and the Rock and Reel Reviews YouTube page. I do small kind of condensed reviews, and I decided to do a review on this one, but I actually couldn't bring myself to do it because I was really struggling to find anything positive to actually mention about it. And it almost got to the point where I wasn't going to do anything about it at all. I decided, nah, fuck it, I'm not going to do this. And I can't remember what forced me to do it, but I was checking a bit about the band, and essentially it's two musicians that are involved with black metal projects, and I can't remember the names that I've never heard of before anyway. I've come together to do this project, Laster being the name of the group, and I can't even pronounce the name of the EP because it's in Dutch, but what annoyed me about it was that in their blurb they said that the EP was written and recorded in one day, and this annoyed me, and this is what prompted the review. Was that at the time I hadn't done my research, but it was a free EP, so I can say a degree of confidence that you didn't have to pay for it. So that's not too bad, but what I didn't enjoy about it was the fact that I thought it was just really. I can't tell you if it's good musically or not, because the production on it is so bad that there's absolutely no way to differentiate between the individual parts that are playing on it. The vocals are nowhere near loud enough, the guitars are far too tinny, there's next to no bass in the mix, and the drums are like, honestly, it's like putting a handful of change in an empty fucking sweetie tin and shaking it. That's what the drums sound like. It just nauseously bad. I really, 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 really didn't like it, and as I say, this offended me. So I did my video review, shoved it up, and got 2 comments on the YouTube page, which I believe are people that are affiliated with the band through the record label or their PR, who disliked what I'd said, because basically they thought that because I'm not a big black metal fan, I shouldn't be reviewing black metal music. Now it'd be worthwhile stating at this point that I don't know of any review site that only reviews things, a reviewer that only reviews things that I like, because there's no way to gain a context of what someone actually does like to listen to if all they talk about is the good stuff. And they had suggested that maybe what I should have done was given it to someone who was more likely to like it. Now I think we can say collectively now you've all had a chance to either listen to at least one of the songs on there, and I think I can comfortably speak for us all that none of us liked it.
Gash.
I like to state that I have not heard the full thing, nor have I heard the full song, but the small part of the song I did hear, which I can't really judge it on, I did not like at all.
Would it prompt you to listen to it?
I actually had to turn it off because it was doing my head in.
Yeah. From that small clip, would that prompt you to want to go and listen to the EP?
Absolutely not.
No. Right. I don't know. Like I say, I don't want to. And a couple of comments come back where it's in the great tradition of, and they listed off names of bands which I've never heard of before, and that could be the case. It could be the case that because I don't listen to these bands, I'm not maybe best equipped to review it. But if you give me a piece of media and ask me for my opinion on it, I will give you my honest opinion. And my honest opinion on that was, whilst I gave it 1.5, which is still not as low as bands like Bunny the Bear, the only reason it got
Quite like.
the only reason it got 1.5 is because they put it up for free, and that's the only redeeming feature that I can get.
No wonder the folks going to buy it.
just I just didn't understand that. It offended me.
I tell you what I noticed. I listened to it. I'm not going to lie. I only listened to it today before I came over here to do the podcast to check out. I did a fairly lengthy discussion with Dalton about it at the time. We were travelling through to Glasgow to go to a gig, and I spoke to him a lot about it, and I kind of had that in my head when I listened to it. But I have done a wee bit of black metal on the site. I've done 2 or 3 black metal releases, one of which was fucking very poor, another couple were okay. It's not my style of music, but I can appreciate good music when I hear it, and some of them were alright. The thing that got me a bit, and I only listened to the song that you posted as part of your review, it's so fucking repetitive. There's nothing there. It's just this one riff over and over again, and these distant vocals.
Yeah, and the vocals
and
are
it kept me through my head. You did this in a fucking day. That's why there's nothing there. You're just hitting a riff, right? Let's fucking knock this out for 7 minutes. You fucking roar a bit for over there, and absolute fucking dreadful. And the thing is, you don't know if they maybe had the money and to go into the studio and do a proper album, they might make some decent black metal.
That's the thing about black metal. This is deliberate. These people, these fucking people, they sought after. It's sought after to get like a lo-fi production. Now, I think that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. They're actually going out of their way to make it sound shite.
That's why I slaughtered that Cult Finder EP, because the production was so bad.
Anybody can make sound shite.
Yeah.
But only skilled people can make sound good.
You know, it's
so you aim for good. If you didn't get the good, well, fair enough. But you didn't aim for shite.
You know that the argument that you have with people that say, "Oh, what do you listen to?" Oh, that's just noise. And then you sit there and go, "No, it's no noise." And then
you've not heard noise.
If someone hands you Laster and asks you to defend that, how the fuck do you defend that? Well, in this case, you're right. It is just noise. It's just I don't know. I like black. I've listened to very little black metal. What I do like tends to be on the more symphonic, sort of overproduced side. Dimmu Borgir is a classic example of that. I actually really like their stuff.
Black metal people argue that they're no black metal.
That's the argument you come across because it's not done in that particular way. But
there's a couple of black metal bands I really like. I really like Immortal. I like some of the Immortal stuff, and I like Visania. But again, I've heard people tell me Visania aren't black metal. If there's one band that's black metal, it's fucking Visania. But they had a really good production. Immortal didn't have the greatest production, but it's listenable. It's good. It's good music. And I remember what was the name of that documentary that came out just a couple of years ago about the black metal scene.
Oh yeah.
And they had all the black metal guys that had killed folk and their faces are all pixelated
and stuff like that.
Chuck Burners, and then Count Grishnak or Varg Vikernes or whatever his name is. He's sitting. He's in jail in an interview because he's fucking stabbed somebody or something, but he still releases music from his cell and his wee keyboard, right? His wee Porter Studio thing. So he's involved a lot in the film. And he's talking about it at one point, and he says, "Yes, we went into the studio and we got the microphone, and we found the worst guitar amp we could find, and we put the microphone up to the guitar amp, and we jammed it up there, and we turned everything up, and it didn't sound bad enough. So what we did is we went and we got another microphone. It was the crappiest, poorest microphone we could find in the building. The pieces falling off of it, and we jammed that up to the thing. And we thought, yes, this is the sound. This is the sound we're looking for. It sounds poor. It sounds bad. This is what we want."
Yeah.
What a dick.
Or I'm paraphrasing. That's essentially what he says. Right. That's essentially. Honestly, that's essentially what he says. And it's just, why would you? What's the point?
What?
Anybody could do it.
Yeah. So that is.
I'm not hearing any arguments here. I was like, yep, pretty much.
I know. Normally when you go off and one will start shouting at you, you're fucking bang on there, big man.
Yeah, so that's Laster. They've got a 3-track EP out. Check it out if you
It's
really want
free.
to. It's free, yeah. Is it the Bandcamp? Is that where it was?
If you go to the Bandcamp page now, you'll be redirected. They actually, ironically,
I
they
don't know why
reached
I'm
their,
promoting this, but
no, but they reached their limit. That's the one thing you can say. They actually reached their limit on their free downloads of Bandcamp. They've actually had to put it on a different site now. I think it's a Mediafire download link from the Bandcamp page. So
Instead of going, we've reached our free download limit, we'll maybe charge £1 a time. Nobody's going to pay for this shit. Let's just put it on another free download site.
yeah, so that's the albums. That's over the last couple of months. We've been reviewing our tits off, and we've had a lot of 5-star reviews, apart from Laster, obviously. So yeah, check out the website, have a wee read of the reviews, see what you think.
what's the
This is
website?
why-
What is the website?
This is why folk hate critics. This is why people like Laster hate critics. They'll be listening to this going, "You fucking bastards."
How dare they?
We'll make a good album and it'll not happen.
Yeah.
What is the website, Dave?
Our website?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's something like rockandreelreviews.com. Is
Is
it?
it as simple as that?
I think so.
I think folks should check that out.
And YouTube channel?
Don't throw us.
YouTube.com.
It's youtube.com /
YouTube channel, not the YouTube fucking
it's
website.
youtube.com / rock and reel reviews.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Twitter
What's the Twitter?
at Rock and Reel Review. No S.
Oh,
Twitter, I've got a fucking thing about how many characters you have as your fucking at name.
Bastard. Twitter,
So it's Rock and Reel Review for that one.
Facebook.
Anyway. Facebook.com / Rock and Reel Reviews.
with an S.
What an S this thing.
Right.
We have a
There
MySpace and a
there
Bebo.
appears to be a theme here.
Yeah. Pretty much add / Rock and Reel Reviews, apart from Twitter, at the end of anything, and you'll find us.
Yes.
Okay, anyway. Next, on the agenda, we're going to start to talk about kind of highlights and lowlights of the year. We're not going to be giving away our top 5 at this point, okay? That'll be coming on the website in a few weeks' time. Baz just got to stretch a wee bit there, okay?
Benji.
I will also have a wee stretch. Yeah, so we're basically going to be we're putting our top 5s up pretty soon on the website. You're probably looking at maybe the next 2 or 3 weeks you'll start to see them appear on the website. But we're going to be talking about a few different things here. The first thing is the most disappointing release of 2012. So this has maybe been something that you've been particularly looking forward to by a band, and you've heard it and you didn't really rate it that highly. So anyone in particular want to kick us off, or you want me to start? Or
I've got to say, there's not been an awful lot I've been disappointed with. I've been looking forward to a lot of stuff, and the stuff I've been looking forward to is 99 times out of 100 been pretty decent. The one that did disappoint me was the Doro album. Sorry, Mikey, I know you're not here to defend this. We got an EP during the year,
yeah,
which I fucking loved, and it was like classic Doro, and it was brilliant, and I'm like, this is fucking great, can't wait to hear this album coming out. We never got the album straight away. You had to beg constantly for about a month to get the album, and we got the album through, and it got a very average review off of me. The stuff that had been on the EP was the majority of the really good stuff on the album.
yeah.
There was 1 or 2 other good tracks. There was quite a lot of filler on it, which
Yeah.
I was disappointed in. And as I say, there was a couple of sort of guest appearances. One of which was Lemmy, and I thought Lemmy and Doro Pesh, that'll be fucking immense. And they did a ballad, and fucking what Lemmy doesn't know about fucking rock and roll isn't worth knowing. Do you know what I mean? But the man can't sing by his own fucking admission. Doesn't he? He's in fucking Motorhead. Do you know what I mean? And they try and do a ballad, and it was fucking sorely disappointing. And then, as I said in the review, the song right after it was a faster, heavier number. If he'd sung one that way, it would have been fucking awesome. But some wanker producer says, no, let me sing this fucking thing here about your lost love or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So Doro for me, I think was still a fairly decent album, but I was disappointed. I was expecting a lot more from it.
Okay. Doro, that was is it Raise Your Fist? That was called.
Raise Your Fist was the album.
Okay. Duncan, what about yourself?
I'm going to be controversial as
Ooh,
fuck.
I like it. I like it.
Controversial as fuck.
This is the kind of thing that gets us death threats.
Can I say that the most disappointing release for me in terms of hype of how much I thought I would enjoy it is Gojira.
What?
And I'll tell you
Once
I'll tell
again,
you-
Mikey, sorry.
I'll tell you why.
Don't worry, Mikey. I'll give him a doing inside.
I'll tell you why. All the hype going into that album was it was going to be their best album. From my opinion, without even hearing it, I'd already put it on the this is going to be the best album sort of thing, because The Way of All Flesh. I did enjoy that album, but I wasn't as good as From Mars to Cyrus. It wasn't, and that's what I wanted. I wanted an album like that. And whilst it is a great metal album, and I've already said that if you had to check out one album this year, which is a kind of modern statement of what modern metal sounds like in 2012, Gojira is that album. For me, it didn't reach the heights that I thought it could have done, and I've already said on a previous podcast why I don't think it does. I don't think it is tempered the same way as From Mars to Cyrus. I don't think the dynamics are fully utilised, which they have done on previous releases. So for me, whilst I still think it's an excellent album, and I saw them recently live, and once again they proved that, in my opinion, they're the best live band on the planet. Their newest album for me doesn't hit the levels that I wanted to. So by my own admission, it's my fault that it's the most disappointing release for me, because I built it up too high for myself.
That's fair enough.
So yeah, I still think people should check it out, but like I say, for me, it's not a 5-star album, and it should have been.
Great stuff. Thank you, Duncan. Mr. McCarroll.
I'm going to go with a film.
Oh, you're going to go with a film?
Controversial
Okay,
as fuck.
I like it. Most disappointing release?
Well, I was thinking Taken 2, but since we've already covered that in depth, I think the most disappointing film for me this year, and the thing that I was most looking forward to, was Total Recall. Had a lot of potential, basically like Deus Ex in a film. Although they are now making a Deus Ex film, which is
same director.
story for another day, but sounds amazing. But it's Total Recall had a lot of potential, massive looking, digital set pieces and things, really cool looking film, and it turned out to be one of the worst films I've seen this year. Definitely a massive disappointment. Crap acting, very, very, very thin story about a lift that goes through the middle of the earth.
That kind of
Doesn't melt, it just goes through the middle of the earth.
Right, okay.
And I could go into it, but the fact alone that the woman with the 3 tits shows up, even though Mars has nothing to do with it, there's no mutants, there's none of that, she just shows up with no explanation. It's like whoever's making it's just, it's like just...
Yeah, it's in jokes to the first one, and I don't see why they need to make in jokes to the first one, because it's not a remake.
What's that about?
I mean, there's a mention to Mars, there's a woman with the 3 tits. There's even the sequence where they go through the customs area, and you focus on the woman,
because you see her,
and you think, oh right, this is...
She looks just like the woman.
So I don't understand what the point of throwing those in, because it's like throwing them in for people
to go, there's a wee nod to the old...
What's the point? Just watch the Arnie version.
It's poor, and I wasn't the biggest fan of the old one. I think it was alright, but this was a real pile of shite. So I can't remember what I gave it. I think I gave it a 2, and I think
it was a 2.
I think that's because I was still kind of, in shock for how shit it was.
Visually, it's a nice looking film.
That's probably why I gave it a 2.
I think a lot of your plus points on it were the fact that it was a very nice looking film, but I don't think it's as bad as... Well, I didn't dislike it as much as you, but certainly from my point of view, I don't see the point of the remake at all.
No.
Avoid.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Myself, I was trying to narrow it down. There was a couple that really just were disappointing this year. Probably the main one for me was The Contortionist. The year before, 2010, one of my top 5s was The Contortionist, Exoplanet, which I thought was just an absolutely fantastic album. It's one that you can listen to, and it is just superb, like it really is. Again, they're quite a kind of progressive sounding kind of metal band. Really looking forward to this new album. It's called Intrinsic, but for me it fell pretty flat. I think maybe Mikey reviewed it, gave it a 3.5. I probably wouldn't have been that generous with it. For me, they'd lost everything that made them cool on Exoplanet. The really cool groove riffs, the simplicity of Exoplanet, I think, was what was so good about it. This album, they've really kind of piled in a lot of the more kind of progressive elements, and it just didn't really work for me. It just fell really short, to be honest.
Did they change members or something?
That's what I thought.
I don't think so.
Because it is a marked departure in sound.
Yeah.
I just assumed it was different members.
I don't think so. Possibly. I don't think so, but maybe. The only other one quickly that I was really didn't like this year was, and I was looking forward to, was the Gallows album. Again, it fell really flat for me, and it's probably because of the one reason that
It's the main reason, I think.
was the departure of Frank Carter, and then with this new boy, do you remember his name?
Wade
McNeil.
Yeah,
Wade McNeil.
from Alexis and Fire.
That's
Didn't
new
even
boy.
remember
I
his
remember
name.
his name. No, I can't.
What annoyed me about that one, that was another one, I swither between that and Doro for this section. Everybody, see all the music press and everything, they went the other way because everybody was expecting it to be shite because Frank was going the vocal like that. It's a triumphant fucking victory for the Gallows to show there's life after Frank. Wade McNeil feels. I don't think he fucking did.
No.
It was a decent hardcore album.
It's not a bad,
But
musically it's not a bad album.
Exactly, but it's not a fucking Gallows album. It's just no. It's the sad fact of the matter. Frank made fucking Gallows. He was certainly a big part of it.
Yeah.
And with him gone, it's just
It's not the same. Would you have felt the same way if they had changed the name?
I would have probably been a lot happier with that.
Yeah.
I would have probably
It's funny
been a
because
lot
that's
happier.
what I
if they-
posed to a couple of people. If they changed the name from the Gallows to something else and marketed them that way, you know, and it's seen. I quite like the album, but every time I think of Grey Britain, for example. It's not Patch and Grey Britain, but vocally it's a different album, and that's the dynamics completely changed.
Another example of that was the Misfits. Danzig left, and they were in the court battles for years over the name Misfits. Jerry only won the court battle, went on to reform the Misfits with a guy called Michael Graves, and they released albums, American Psycho and Famous Monsters. They are brilliant horror punk albums, but nobody fucking likes them because they're called Misfits albums. You should have called the band something else, and they would have been fucking massive. But everybody went, no, it's pish, it's no Danzig. It's the exact same fucking problem.
So just wanted to quickly throw that one in there. Next topic on the agenda, we have. I know my agenda looks slightly different to yours. I mean, things mixed up. Don't worry, but just follow my lead. The most unexpected release of 2012. So this would be something that you really weren't expecting to come in. It's hit you kind of left field, and
like this item because it's not even on
It's
my
not
agenda.
on my agenda either. I was just going to say, I was thinking,
there you go. Keep me on your toes,
Keep on your toes.
So the most unexpected release of 2012. I can come back to it.
Can it be albums or films or just
Whatever you want. Whatever you want. Most unexpected release, something that you weren't expecting. Maybe a band you hadn't even heard of.
I'll go.
Clone. Clone. That's actually on my agenda as well, Doug. That's
Clone.
my choice.
Clone, definitely. That album is stunning. I mean, I'd like really in terms of a band that I'd never heard of. Dave described it to me as, imagine some of the heavier sections of Gojira, maybe the almost like the production of Gojira, but you know, mixed in with some kind of new grungy sort of vocals along the lines of maybe Alice in Chains or something. Imagine those two mixed together, and my initial response is, can't mix those two together, it won't work. That album works. It is really fucking well written. His vocals are phenomenal. It's crushingly heavy but beautiful at the same time. It's an album that has had repeat listens from me, and will continue to for the foreseeable future. I think it's a stunning album, and I never heard them before. And you told me recently, have they not been on the go for quite a while?
Yeah.
How long? Do you remember?
I can't remember.
It's 5+ years anyway.
Yeah, they're on the go for a while.
Yeah, and I think that's why they sound so mature on the album.
If you
To
go
me,
to,
that's a debut album.
If you go to YouTube, there's loads of other tracks from kind of previous releases that you'll find on YouTube before this new album. But I'm the same. I had on my list as well. Clone, the Dreamers Hideaway. We got a chance to see them live with supporting Gojira, and they were fucking phenomenal.
Immaculate.
I mean, they were on first supporting Gojira, and I've never seen an opening act like that ever. They were superb.
It was album quality, and I can't even begin to tell. Vocally, he hit some notes on that album, which I'm like, we'll see if he can do that live. Hits it live. Not a problem at all. The band were tight. It sounded immaculate. Album's brilliant. Plenty going on in it. Check it out.
I think what you've actually got on my agenda here, Dave, is a band I'd never heard of before. They're really impressed. That's slightly different.
Yeah, that's same kind of thing. Yeah.
In answer to that one, I would probably say Triggerman.
Triggerman, nice. Yeah.
Northern Irish kind of sludge, kind of stoner stuff. And the reason I picked that one out, there's been a lot of bands that have come out this year that I'd never fucking heard that kind of thing. I didn't really. What the fuck are you doing?
Sorry, we're stealing your iPad.
I was trying not to mess up your flow.
Yeah, Triggerman.
Yeah, we did.
I'm sorry.
But out of all of them, Triggerman's the one I still find myself playing all the time when I'm in the house, like messing about, and I stick the iPod on. I say that Triggerman album on, that's great. I mean, I think it's an EP, isn't it? It's only about 7 tracks or something like that. Fucking love that. Really, really love that album.
Yeah.
Hail to the River Gods is the name of the
So
album.
we featured one of the songs in the previous podcast.
We
didn't
did?
we?
Yeah,
it
we
was
did,
the last
aye.
podcast we featured the song.
Yeah.
So check it out if you want. Go to the previous podcast and you'll be able to hear the songs on YouTube.
Yep, definitely. Mark, can we interrupt you there just to get your answer on
He's,
this?
Well, that's actually what I was just.
Oh, not prepared, are
He's
we?
just
Not prepared.
just confirming.
Sorry, someone's agenda was back to front.
He's just confirming on this. Well, if it was back to front, you still have an answer for it.
Good point, Duncan.
I have to put all these folk at work all the time with that. Oh, I didn't know.
Come back to me.
Right, well, you're last.
What have you done?
It was the same as Duncan's. Clone.
Oh, come on.
Come on, what?
I can't mind the name of it. I'm trying to find it on the iPod.
What was it, an album?
An album or a film. We'll help you. Collectively, we can help you
won't
here.
know it. You won't know it. I'm trying to find
I've only
it.
reviewed about 5 times, sure we'll get it.
Oh, mate.
Perhaps we should move on. This isn't great.
Yeah,
Story
we'll come back to
24
that.
by any chance.
So unprofessional, Mark. Right,
There
okay.
you go. Films that looked pretty good from the outside that absolutely sucked when we went to see it. Storage 24, British horror film, kind of trying to be funny and scary at the same time. A la Shaun of the Dead, minus fucking zombies, set in a storage facility, which is under attack by alien or an alien of some sort of description. Fucking awful film. Avoid like fuck. Why Danny Dyer wasn't in that film is beyond me. It is horrendous. So there you go. I've just flung another one in there while we're waiting.
Is this the same bit as we're doing as things that deserve a mention? This is just stuff that's come out of left field, do 2 different things.
I think we should move on, boss.
We can come back. I'll come back to
Move on.
that.
The next part on the agenda was kind of still skirting around the top 5.
This is the bit that's what I was getting mixed up with.
Right, okay. So yeah, our top 5s will be coming in a couple of weeks' time, 2 or 3 weeks' time. But I wanted just to give it as an opportunity just to mention another couple of releases from this year that maybe won't make our top 5s, but are definitely still worth giving a mention for you to check out. They can be albums or films. Briefly, I'll just kick off first. Deserving a mention for me that isn't going to make my top 5. Chimp Spanner released a cracking EP really early in the year. I think it's like maybe February, March time. It was called All Roads Lead Here, and it's an absolutely fantastic EP. I think I gave it about a 4 out of 5 when I first reviewed it, but I've listened to it that much now. I'd probably rate it a wee bit higher actually now. It's absolutely stunning. It's all instrumental, kind of progressive metal, but it's superb. Like there's a wee bit of an 80s feel to it at times as well, even though it's a kind of progressive metal album. Definitely worth checking out. Might be surprised to hear it, but Tony Danza's not going to be my top 5 this year.
Really?
I don't know.
Yeah, he just didn't seem that bothered about that. Thanks very much.
I'm surprised.
Tony Danza 4. I reviewed that earlier in the year. Again, it was kind of 4.5 out of 5. Stunning album. Really enjoyed it, but there's just been too many good releases this year that it's not going to make it this year. But still worth checking out. Absolutely superb. I'm going to stick in a third one just because I'm the boss. Films. Take Shelter. I thought it was a superb film.
Good shout.
Michael
Really
Shannon, superb film. If you've not seen it, definitely worth checking out. Again, though, there's been so many good releases this year. It's not going to make my top 5, but still worth a mention.
I'm not going to mention a film for the simple reason I've only seen 5 films this year.
Your
So
top
that's
5
my
sorted.
top 5, yeah. And tragically, 3 of them I went to see with the Wayne. So 3 of my top 5 are Madagascar 3, Ice Age 4 and Hotel Transylvania. So yeah, I'm struggling for films that are not going to make my top 5 this year. But in terms of albums, the main one would be Electric River.
Yeah.
London kind of hardcore kind of punk band, fucking brilliant. Had that been a full album, it would have been right at the top of my top 5 without a shadow of a doubt. Even just the 5-song EP is fucking immense. It's just a shame there wasn't a bit more. I went and I downloaded their back catalogue off iTunes. They do have a full album, Radio No Go, and another EP as well. Both of which are very good. Not as good as this. This is their best thing to date. So that won't make it just purely because it's a kind of shortened album. I'm going to stick in another two very quickly. Diablo Swing Orchestra and Tim Barry.
Yeah.
Both albums that I loved, but there has been so much this year.
Yeah. Just to give you an
they probably
idea,
won't make my top
we've
5.
we've received, since we started the website end of February, we've received in excess of 500 albums this year. So to try and narrow them down to 5 is pretty fucking difficult, to be honest. So when we say there's been a lot of releases here, then there actually has been a lot of releases this year. Duncan, what are you thinking?
You would think, out of all of us here, that my one would be easy, because this year I have given out 5 5-star reviews.
Right.
There you go.
Fair
So you would
enough.
think my top 5 sorted. Unfortunately, it's not at all, because at least 3 of those 5-star reviewed ones are going to even struggle to make it to my top 10 for the year. And I will be doing a top 10 video, Duncan's Quickies, coming soon, because I refuse to be pigeonholed into 5. So
Smash the system!
there, 2 fingers to the boss. There you go. 2 albums which are just out. One is Baroness, which was a double album, Yellow and Green.
Awesome album.
Fucking brilliant,
Awesome.
absolutely brilliant. Got to interview the band, got to see them live, brilliant. But as time has went on, and it's not that it's a bad album, I struggle to go back to it, and I don't know if it's because of the fact it's a double album, the length. I don't have that much time to go back to it, but it's very, very difficult, and it's slowly fallen by the wayside. It's still easily one of the best sort of kind of progressive rock, sludgy sort of albums that you'll hear this year. If you're fans of Mastodon, you need to check out Baroness if you haven't already. A lot of people give them slack, said that they went a wee bit too Mastodon-y on this one, but it's a brilliant double album. Both albums I've listened to back to back and individually are excellent. The second one, which is just kind of just kind of slipped out there towards the end, is Vision of Disorder, which I'm absolutely gutted about, because that to me is one of the best releases this year. You take into account what that band's been through to come back and put that album out. It just blows my mind. It's a fucking phenomenal album, but things have been... every time I sit down to do the top 5, I get to the end, and my 3, 4 and 5 are likely to change before the end, but then I'm like, at least I've got 5, and then I remember another album that I've listened to this year that I really liked, and it throws everything up. Vision of Disorder's new album, which is The Curse Remain Cursed, is a phenomenal album, and if you like heavy, aggressive, hardcore meets kind of thrash metal, then that is the album that you need to check out this year, and it's out on Candlelight Records, and it's phenomenal.
Good shout, yeah.
Cool, right, well I'll backtrack slightly to answer the other question about something that kind of came out of left field to some extent, and that I really enjoyed. I'm going to stick with the films though, being the cinema goblin that I am.
Cool.
Thanks, Baz.
Yeah, that's cool.
So the film that came out that I managed to catch in America when I was there, it doesn't come out here, I don't think, until Boxing Day or something like that. Wreck-It Ralph. If you're into kind of Pixar type films, it's not a Pixar film, it's a Disney.
Why is
film.
everybody looking at me?
Because you've seen
Named
Hotel
about 3 there.
Transylvania.
Your top 5 are all animated films.
3 of my only 5, David.
That's true, sorry.
So Wreck-It Ralph's about, it's based in the video game world. Wreck-It Ralph. Ralph's a game, he's a villain and a game character, but he decides he doesn't want to be a villain anymore, he wants to be a good guy, and so he goes to these kind of, it's like an AA meeting, but it's for all the bad guys for the video games, right? So they've got like Zangief there, and M. Bison, and I don't know, like the Ghost for Pac-Man, Dr. Robotnik's there for Sonic, and all these kind of things, and they all sit there and there's like a support group for bad guys who want to be good guys and stuff. So you know the kind of angle it's going to be. It's and it, you know, it takes the shape that most of these kind of films do. But the fact that it was all about game characters and things, recommend it to anybody who likes Pixar films, even though it's not a Pixar film, it's a Disney film, or video games. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was brilliant.
Cool.
May or may not make the top 5, not sure. The 2 films that will probably narrowly miss the top 5 this year that I really enjoyed, and I think initially they were going to be in it, were Here Comes the Boom,
Right.
which is in stark contrast to apparently every other reviewer out there who seems to fucking hate the film. we talked about it before in one of the previous ones. Kevin James has to save his high school music department because he's one of the teacher's jobs is going to get cut. He has to save the department, has to raise money, so he decides he's going to go and fight MMA and try and lose it just to make enough money together, and the loses to save the department. It's like you said what was it you said about the things that were in it? You were like, well, Kevin James is in it, MMA, it's got a POD theme song, it's pretty much ticks all the boxes. It did, but it also went beyond that. I really enjoyed it. We went to see it, me and Emma went to see it in the States, and it absolutely blew me away. I could happily sit through it a second time.
Yeah.
So definitely recommend that. I really enjoyed it, regardless of what anybody else says about it. It was a feel good film, and my suspicions were correct that it was, a comedy in the disguise of a comedy. It was actually a feel good film.
Yeah.
So maybe a wee review for that coming at some point. And Wreck-It Ralph, by the way. The other film, which I can't even remember now if I reviewed or not, but earlier in the year a film came out called Savages,
Right.
that I really enjoyed. It's Oliver Stone has directed it. Blake Lively's in it.
I've actually got it, but I
have you-
haven't watched it yet.
You know, watched it yet?
No.
I thought it was really good,
Right.
and I didn't expect to like it. This is the thing. When I seen the trailers, it was looked a bit kind of right. By the numbers, looks kind of bland. It's basically about two drug dealers having to make changes in their business, and things don't always go according to plan, and all this kind of thing. It does have a lot of. There's violence in it. There's
But,
wee bit of riding, wee bit of that. Aye.
Sold!
There's there's like a torture sequence. There's just all different things like that, and but the actual characters were good in it, and the characters were quite memorable. Can't remember their names. The lassie was called O. That's all I remember there. But Taylor Kitsch is in it, and Taylor Johnson or whatever his name is. Those are the two kind of main lead roles. But Oliver Stone's directed it, so you can't really go far wrong there. Could have been doing with being in the top 5. But it's missed out, I think, just narrowly. But I definitely recommend Savages. I really enjoyed it. I was surprised, didn't think it was going to be as good as it was, and it was actually really good. So
Cool. Excellent. Nice one. So that's a few albums and films for you to check out that unfortunately aren't going to make our top 5s, but are definitely still worth watching or listening to. So we're now moving on to the kind of last part of the agenda. Up and coming. I know we're still in December, and there's a few still to come out in December, film wise. Seven Psychopaths, The Hobbit, Man with Iron Fists, Jack Reacher, Life of Pi still to come out this month. There's still quite a fair few films.
Django Unchained. Why does everyone keep looking over to Quentin Tarantino here?
what did you say a minute ago? Did you not mention Django Unchained? Or
No.
was it Honey? Man with Iron Fist.
Man with Iron Fists.
Fucking
That's what I
Django
was thinking.
Unchained.
Is that this month?
December. I think it's Boxing Day as well.
Oh,
Actually,
right.
Oh, how good does Life of Pi look?
does
Actually,
look
I haven't even seen the
surprisingly
trailer
does,
for it.
and it doesn't look like the sort of film I go and
It's
see.
getting
But the trailer,
crazy good reviews.
Is
that.
it?
Aye.
Well, the
Aye.
books.
Yeah.
Is it not an international selling?
Nah,
Yeah,
it's
so
the book won the Booker Prize or something like
it's,
that. It's a
Ang
guy
Lee,
on a
isn't it?
boat with a fucking tiger. It sounds
I
gash.
think it is. I think it is Ang Lee, actually. I know, but the thing is, I saw the trailer for it initially.
That sums it up before you even see it.
Aye,
Guy on a boat with a
Fucking
tiger.
That's all you need to know.
Gash.
It's, no, look, I saw the trailer a while back, and I was like, I don't know. When we went to see Cloud Atlas, saw the trailer again, and I don't know why, but I was just mesmerised with it. It looks really,
looks
really
visually
interesting.
stunning,
Visually stunning. That's
Yeah.
it. I think it's going to be a very visual film.
Visually stunning. I'm assuming he's sitting in the corner of the boat caking his own shite. I mean, really? Trying to wash himself in the sea.
Don't get eaten by the tiger.
Fucking load of nonsense.
Yeah. So,
So that's just summed it up. Like.
yeah, it's possibly still worth seeing.
I can't believe you've only seen 5 films this year.
So these are all still coming this year then?
This is December still.
Yeah.
Name them again, Dave. Name them
Seven
again.
Psychopaths, which looks...
It looks alright. In Bruges is a
fair
good
enough.
film, and it's the same makers
True.
behind that. So we'll wait
The
and see.
Hobbit, no my kind of thing.
Oh,
but-
the Hobbit
looks
the
alright,
Hobbit looks
actually.
good. And I thought apparently, I don't know, it's getting a lot of good kind of press and stuff.
I'm not happy that he's split into 3 films. To be honest with you,
I was,
that's
I was talking to the missus about this last night. She'd never seen any of the Lord of the Rings films, and I was saying, well,
Baz, do
we'll
you have a
probably show
TV?
them.
Because
Oh, I've seen the Lord of the Rings films.
but you've not seen a James Bond film.
No, I have, but I don't like them. There's a fucking difference. I've not seen The Life of Pi. I've made a huge rash assumption about that one, but that is my prerogative as a reviewer. No,
Right.
my girlfriend, my fiance.
Fiance.
Jesus,
Oh,
get
huh?
that. We'll drop the ball there. Oh, I'm going to suffer for that one when she
Well,
listens to
doesn't
this.
listen to it.
My fiance has never seen any of the Lord of the Rings ones, and I was explaining to her last night they'll probably come on Sky fairly soon again with the release of The Hobbit coming up. And I loved the Lord of the Rings films, they were brilliant movies, I thoroughly enjoyed them all. I didn't particularly like the books, I find it awful long fucking winded. But I was pointing out to her, it's 3 books, 3 films. And then I said, am I right in thinking though that The Hobbit is just 1 book?
Yeah.
And the fucking greedy bastards have made 3 films with it.
I think it was intended to be 1 film though, and I think as it's went on, I think the marketability of it has been such that it is a long book. To be fair, I mean, if they can split the last Twilight fucking film into 2 fucking films, it was the last book. It's
Is
not
it
that a
Hobbit?
big book.
I've never read The Hobbit, but is it actually in 2 parts? The book, is it kind of like a beginning?
I
and an
can't
end?
remember. I remember.
Obviously, all books are
we had
a
we had-
beginning and an end,
we
but I
had-
mean,
I'll say when we had The Hobbit read to us when I was in fucking primary 3
Aye.
by a teacher who was obsessed with Tolkien. He was absolutely obsessed with his writer. And I remember reading it to us, and I've read it since then, but I can never remember it being in 2 parts. I did always think though when they made The Lord of the Rings that it was likely, if anything, to be 2 films. I can only assume the reason he decided to do it over 3 is because
the
he
studio.
knows. Well, probably the studio. I
they
don't know much of that.
pitched the original as 2 films. Peter Jackson and Fran Jackson, I think her name was. They pitched the original.
Did
the
she used
studios
to be a guy?
as 2 films.
This is for my brother, Frank.
Frank Jackson. They when they went to the studios, they did pitch it as 2 films, and then one of the studio says, "Well, why would anybody make 2 films?" And they were like, "Oh fuck, that's a shafted." And they were like, "No, you make 3 films."
Yeah.
And then that's why it became a trilogy. But what I was laughing at there was Duncan and I we went to see Skyfall. The trailer came on for The Hobbit. And I must have been sitting there all wide-eyed and excited. I turned to Duncan and was like, "Hey, what do you think?" And Duncan's like, "Nah." He said, "What?" And he's like, "From the director of the Lord of the Rings trilogy comes another Lord of the Rings trilogy."
That's essential. I think the thing is as well, the danger I have is, and I know you're going to shout at me here, I didn't particularly like the first Lord of the Rings film because it's set in the scene, it sets the story, it introduces you to the characters. That's essential what The Hobbit's going to be. It's going to be an introduction to characters and a lot of fucking scene setting.
A lot of fucking about.
Yeah, pretty much. The good stuff's
Dwarfs and that running about.
the good stuff's going to happen second and third film. So this first one's just a precursor. So I'll go and see it.
Right.
Because I'm compelled to go and see it, but it's not going to land in a top 5 film list for me, and I can say that.
Guillermo del Toro, though, he had something to do with it. He was initially going to direct it, and partly his fingerprints are still over it, and that's
Yeah,
why a lot of
that's-
people are
that'll
excited.
make me
Because a
happy.
lot of folk
Love that
like
man.
Pan's Labyrinth and stuff. So
A lot of folk. Whoa, this man here likes Pan's Labyrinth.
I've not seen it.
Right,
I've seen
excellent.
a bit of it. I didn't have a TV.
Yeah, The Man with the Iron Fist still to come out.
Let's talk about that a wee bit. Let's talk a wee bit about that.
Well, better make it quick.
Tell us about it.
It's directed. It's directed by the RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan. It's his first, as far as I'm led to believe, it's his first
fuck's sake.
film, and it looks phenomenal. It does actually, but it looks ridiculous. It's all these sort of.
Shut the fuck up.
Next! Jack Reacher was the other one that was on there.
Is Batista on it?
Oh fucking.
No, I'm not first.
Anyone? Jack Reacher.
Jared Reacher
Tom
looks
Cruise.
shite.
Okay.
Yes, looks
I
awful.
honestly think it looks. We've seen the trailer for that again in Skyfall.
I was laughing.
And Duncan was like, "Oh, yeah, I quite like whoever it was that was directing. I was like, "Oh, I quite like him." And as the trailer went on, we were sitting there laughing at it because it looked so shit.
Awful.
So,
Avoid.
get it to fuck.
Get it to fuck. And Life of Pi, which we've already discussed.
Yep.
Man,
could be-
what a fucking
Apparently
line.
Flavor Flav's done that
Nice.
We're gonna have a discussion about this later on because there is a nosy shit, right? That's all I'm saying.
There is a.
There is a nosy shit.
Yeah, so 2013, Now, when I was thinking about it, whoa, what,
No,
you
no,
got your
no,
hand
I was just going to say.
hand was going up
I was
on
just
it.
going to say. I was like, yep, next year. Yep,
I'll be here.
I'll be there. And listen,
First, when I first thought about 2013, not a lot came to mind. Started to think, 1, 2 albums, 3 albums.
I can only think of one film. Really,
Well,
so.
that was the same. I had a wee look on this thing called the internet. And,
Information
tell us-
superhighway.
that's the one. That's the
Wait a
one.
minute. Tell us about the internet.
Well, it's a funny story. But I'm not going to go into it right now. Albums and movies for next year. There's fucking loads. There's loads.
Aye.
Loads, Davey.
More than this year.
Well, no, I don't have more than 500 on this page.
No,
but
but I mean, like, you know how this year, the start of this year, we were like, oh, this is the year for movies, or this is the year you get
Yeah.
a cinema card.
Could be.
Because, do you think there's
Could be.
looking as
I
chocolate?
mean, I don't know if there's anything that stands out like Dark Knight Rises or even like Skyfall.
Yeah, well, there'll be
to an
new
extent,
Iron
but-
Man.
Well,
Well,
surely.
maybe there is. I've
there?
got a
There's a lot
list.
of comic book ones over there.
Albums. Anything on your mind album wise? I have a list of about a million, but
I know a few, but
Off the
um,
top of my head, I'm thinking Children of Bodom, Devil Driver.
you read my list, man.
you dick.
I'm just going to make a guess. Has Lamb of God got a new album?
No, that came out at the beginning
No.
of this year.
So they've not got a new film? Well, they might have. we might-
One a year.
Never know.
The singer just got released from prison,
That's true.
right? In Prague.
Children of Bodom, Devil Driver, Dillinger Escape Plan,
Oh yeah.
Opeth, AC/DC, Anthrax.
AC/DC are bringing out a new album.
New album, Baz. Same chords, different album. Dream Theater, Slayer, Sepultura, Korn, Hatebreed. Hatebreed's in January actually. Clutch,
Clutch.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, nuts.
There's rumours in the mill about Coal Chamber as well.
They're playing Hellfest. I need to talk to you about that actually.
Hack Ride.
If anybody doesn't know, by the way, Cold Chamber's one of my all-time
Well,
favourite bands.
They're
If
saying
not
apparently
my favourite band.
working on material apparently.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. So, what was
Hack
after
Ride.
Cold Chamber?
Hack Ride. Should be another
Hack
good.
Ride as well, yeah.
Soil Work. They've already announced something
Oh.
quite early in the year next year. Down. Possibly.
I doubt you'll see any down stuff.
Tool possibly as well. There's some rumours about Tool
Yeah.
releasing some next year. Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam. Do you think we might see something new for Ghost?
Ghost album's supposed to be out early part of next year.
Nice.
I think that's why they're doing the Jägermeister tour.
Yep. Scotland's own Man Must Die album out next
That's
year
right.
Oh,
With the Berserker drummer.
with the Berserker drummer.
what?
Yeah, they've got the
Is
Berserker
that who they
drummer.
got to do it?
Yeah.
Did they agree to play the click tracks? Or whatever it was.
Must have gone to that.
Or what they going to bar me? Shite myself!
The Ocean, Scar Symmetry, Red Fang,
Oh, Red
36 Crazy Fists, Cult of Luna, Last Chance to Reason, Blood Red Throne, Chimp Spanner,
Fucking hell.
Devin Townsend, and Killswitch Engage.
Devin Townsend as well.
Yep.
Again.
Rob Zombie,
Rob Zombie.
9 Inch Nails,
Oh,
but that's a maybe.
That's a maybe.
He's
That's a
got
maybe.
How to Destroy
That's already chocker.
and that's
We've
before
got
you
a
get
new
all that
Rancid album out next year as well on the punk side of things. The biggie. New Murphy's album out in January. New Drop Dead Murphy's album out in January.
New
yeah.
Buck Cherry album.
Buck Cherry.
If you're on your kind of,
They played last night in Glasgow, and my pal Urti, who worked was at it, said they were phenomenal.
they're a good live band.
Yeah.
I've seen them 3 times. They're a good live band.
Nice. Yeah. So
I'm
So
holding.
that's just music.
that's just music.
Please tell me you've got a similar list for films, because I'm getting a stiffy here.
It's not
I
far
can
away.
testify that.
Mind when folk used to call it a stiffy. What happened to that? Now it's an erection.
With your proper terms.
Film wise, I've got.
Well, the one I was going to mention, it
Okay.
might already be on your list,
Okay.
but the one of the kind of really big budget looking films coming next year is Pacific Rim.
Oh, aye.
No on the list.
Not on the list.
Guillermo del Toro. I think this is why he bowed out of the Hobbit film because aye, it does look awesome. Charlie Hunnam from Sons of Anarchy.
yeah.
He's in it.
Also, the fucking wanker that ruined Green Street as well, right enough.
That's him. Aye.
Aye.
That's him.
His
Oh, I
acting's a
thought-
bit.
Who, Charlie Hunnam?
Aye.
Who?
Yeah.
Unless he's playing a biker,
That's right,
then
aye.
he's
Oh,
going
no,
to be
shit,
fucking
yeah.
gashed.
Well,
You better not to be copying, I tell you that for fuck all.
I think Idris Elba's in it as well.
aye,
The
for the
black
one.
dude for the
Oh,
one,
and he's quite good at man-to-man riding as well, because he did a lot of that in Queer as Folk.
and Queer as Folk, aye.
Aye.
And I've never seen it, Baz, tell us why have you been watching that?
I've got absolutely fucking nothing. I've seen it. I saw it back in the day when it was on the telly. I make no excuses. I make no excuses. It was groundbreaking television.
It was
groundbreaking television.
Pinnacle. Fuck you.
Pacific Rim or Pac Rim. As it's getting abbreviated to
Because Pacific's such a large word.
Because apparently Charlie Hunnam.
Lazy fuckers.
Listen to this, right? Apparently Charlie Hunnam initially almost was Thor. He was going to play Thor, and then.
Oh, I'd never have forgiven them for that one. By the way.
Well, he looks a bit like the boy that they've got to do it, you know, like Chris Hemsworth. But he.
I get my hair right. I can look like fucking Wolverine, but they wouldn't have cast me as him. Do you know what I mean?
Snack in that. I saw, but basically what the film's about, giant, and I mean fucking giant mechs, robot mechs that, and I don't know if it's when it's set, what year it's set, or if it's about aliens or what. But on the poster that they've released for it, it's this massive giant robot, kind of standing in the sunset, and the tiny wee figures of the human pilot standing on the shoulder of it, and it looks so. I think it's a $200 million budget or something like that, you know.
Huge.
So that in terms of big budget, big exciting films.
Sounds like Battleship to me.
Oh no!
Oh, but Guillermo del Toro's doing it though, so
Battleship was alright.
I quite liked that. I thought Battleship was alright. It got a lot of stick. I enjoyed
I
it.
thought it was
I
alright.
got a lot of stick rightly.
Anyway, so let's tease the
What's
list.
in the list? I've got. This is just some stuff I've picked up off the net. New Die Hard, A Good Day to Die Hard. Is out next year?
Set in
Early
Russia.
next year, right?
Is it set in
Yeah.
Russia?
Set in Russia. Mother Russia. What is it? And that's the tagline for the poster. Is Yippee-ki-yay, Mother Russia.
That's right.
God,
Trailer's up online.
John McClane's son
Aye,
is involved in it.
it's got a big role in it.
He happens to be in Russia. Because this is how things. This is just like taking in it. This is what happens. Hey, I'm a cop from New York, but I'm in Russia. Yippee-ki-yay. That's basically it, right? But the last one was fucking excellent, wasn't it?
I quite
was
enjoyed
good,
the last
actually.
one actually.
So I think it's going to. I've got high hopes for it. I think it's going to be. And the trailer that I've seen, there's a lot of, you know, fucking. It's funny because he turns up in a place like Russia, but then you see it's all fucking helicopters flying into buildings and you know massive explosions. Looks good. What's next?
As opposed to soup kitchens and food queues. Because it's no got that same fucking snap. Do you know
All I'm
what I
going to say is, I think
Child prostitution and
I
things
think,
like
think
that.
have been freed, but
Ziri.
Free Pussy Riot. Have they been freed yet?
They have not, but one of them has.
Right,
one
Free
of them
Pussy
had
Riot. Russian bastards.
One of them had their sentence suspended, but the other two are sent to forced labour camps now. It's pretty fucking bad. One of them is in
What are you talking about?
solitary confinement.
The band.
punk band who
Keyboard
protest.
Riot.
They played punk set. All women
they
in
called
a
it?
church. Pussy
Pussy.
Riot.
Alright, I thought the name of the band was
Pussy Riot. Did you see the other
That was Pussy Riot,
I thought you meant
which
the
is
name of the
also
band was-
which is also my stripper name.
I thought you were saying the name of the band was Free Pussy Riot. And I was thinking, isn't that a coincidence that they've been captured somewhere? And that's the name of the band. Right,
They're now known as
anywho.
Caged Pussy Riot.
Anyhow. Next.
Evil Dead.
That's right. Trailer
Yes,
actually.
good shout.
I quite like the trailer, but
like the sound of
it's
this.
already getting torn to shreds.
Is it?
Well,
By
lately,
By whom?
Not by Sam Raimi, surely.
by the horror
By
community.
me.
Well, Sam Raimi's involved, but he's not.
Is he not directing it?
He's not fully directing it. He's associated with it.
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell's linked to it. He's supposed to be in it in some capacity. It looks incredibly visceral. In fact, it looks like it's definitely because the very first Evil Dead
Looks
was a
graphic.
very fucking gory film for its time. The video nasty, fucking very gory.
It is.
looks
It
like
is.
that's what they're aiming for, but they're updating it. I think it looks. I will be there to see it because it looks promising.
I think it could be good as well.
Yeah.
I think that I agree with it looks graphic, but I do think that the trailer also has that look, you know, these when they try and remake a film and it looks too polished.
Yes.
I think it has that aspect.
Oh, it does. It certainly doesn't look. In terms of film production, it's not grey. It'll be well done, if you know what I mean.
Stay tuned for that one because Duncan will probably review it.
Oh,
good.
definitely.
Iron Man 3. Kind of
Yeah,
could be possibly. Hopefully
I've seen
better
a
than the
couple of
second one.
stills.
Why in the still? Why in the still is his armour?
I don't know
Coated
enough
with
about.
the-
I don't know enough about comic books.
What,
to
the
comment
red,
on it.
white, and blue thing?
He's coated in the American flag.
I'm not. Even when I was reading a lot of comics, I wasn't particularly into Iron Man, but it's something called the Patriot armor or something like that. That there was numerous Iron Man things. There was
Aye.
War Machine, who was the one
Yeah.
that appeared in the second one and all that kind of thing. This is another one called Patriot. I think he basically goes and works for the government or something. I might be wrong in
Is
that.
it still Tony Stark?
As far as I know, yes, but I might be wrong in that. As I say, I'm not that clued up, but it's called the Patriot Armour.
Mikey will keep us all informed.
Mikey, aye, Mikey would have
Hey,
been
Mikey, where are you?
Goes to
Mikey.
shit when
Mikey.
Mikey's not here.
Dressed up as Santa somewhere.
First time we're actually actively seeking comic book answers. He's not
Just
fucking-
he's probably still in Florida, just going round and round on the Spider-Man ride.
Yeah, quickly, we've got The Hangover Part 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love the Hangover films.
Did
They're
you?
brilliant.
There's no a wedding in this one. That's all they've come out and
taken.
said.
It's the same. How can the guy get kidnapped? How can the same thing happen to them 3 times?
It doesn't matter because the wee Chinese guy's cock's tiny and he always shows it. It's fucking hilarious, and the wee monkeys wanking them off and stuff. Fucking brilliant.
Good
So
stuff.
bad.
Fast
Basil
and
really
Furious
that
6.
That's
Now,
right.
That I'm excited for.
Yeah.
The Rock, is The Rock back in it? Do we know?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I think he is,
he
eh?
is, because the only thing I knew about it was that he tweeted some picture of him on set. So he's definitely in it. Fucking love that franchise. I think it's one of the best franchises, even though it's a lot of cheesy shite. It's great.
Have you ever noticed that the first Fast and the Furious film is in fact Point Break but in cars?
No, I've not.
Think, right, you go home and you watch it and keep in your head your man Keanu
No,
and Point
I'm
Break.
thinking
It's
about it, though. I
the
can
fucking same film.
see
It's
where you're going.
frightening.
You can see where you're going about the cop.
It's
and then
one
he
of the
goes a
great
bit
movie
rogue.
conspiracies.
Could be.
Telling you, they actually remade Point Break but with gay cars instead of surfboards.
But the fact that-
And the cunt out the Red Hot Chili Peppers isn't in it either.
I really like Fast Furious films.
Could be
I
interesting.
bought them recently on Blu-ray. I've been watching them again and I'm
Not in a box set, I hope.
in a box.
Oh,
and
fucking
I've-
there was
So
a
I
sixth
knew
one.
there's another 2 in production, or
Fucked it
3.
Faux pas.
There's 2 or 3 in production. I knew that was happening, but I'll
Um,
just stick them next to the box.
End up Falkirk retail park any night of the fucking week. It's like that.
Aye.
I know.
Check it out.
We've also got new Brad Pitt, the World War Z or World
Yeah.
War Z.
Cut all the
Finally.
Glasgow
No,
footage. Yep, all
We
the
better talk
Glasgow.
about that, because where are we sitting broadcasting this podcast
If you
from?
would stop talking for 2 minutes and listen to what I'm saying, they've cut all the Glasgow footage from
they
the
cut the
final
Grangemouth
production.
footage?
I'm assuming so.
No, they won't have. They won't have.
Confidence here.
Listen to the comment. I'll tell you why.
Is it-
Because they used the right. Basically, if anyone doesn't know, we're broadcasting. We're podcasting this broadcasted podcast from Grangemouth. You're going to go, you know, a fucking location. Grangemouth, Central Scotland, and they did film part of it here. And they used the BP refinery as the backdrop, so it was old Flats Road or something like that.
Whole flats.
All Flats.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know you
I
are.
know.
council.
Roads department.
And they used that thing as a backdrop. So because of the production value of that, I wouldn't imagine they would have. cut
I
that.
am going to go with Baz here and say that I think that very, very likely if they've dropped Glasgow out, which we're using for quite a lot of the actual action sequences, if they've dropped that
Why
out, there's
did-
a very fucking good chance they've dropped Grangemouth out then.
Why did they drop it out?
I'm not sure, mate. It was on the. It's been announced. Everybody was kind of talking about it on the internet the other day.
Glasgow's
As
saying
well,
it's
with the whole
right now.
Grangemouth thing, me and Big Brad went out and got fucking ratted in Air Zetland after that filming, and they weren't happy with him because he was late the next day and everything. Me and him ended up in my house playing strip poker for shots of Dooley's toffee liqueur. We were fucked! And fucking Angelina was going mental. So they weren't very happy with his performance the next day. He was sicko out that van and everything. It was fucking terrible. Toffee liqueur everywhere.
What, can we put a disclaimer at the beginning of this podcast that says may contain sarcasm?
Yeah, so quickly, I've got a big list here.
Right, okay.
No more interruptions.
The Wolverine
Yes.
could be interesting.
Yep.
Hugh Jackman back again. Old Boy.
Remake, yeah. I love Old Boys.
Probably
so
never gonna do
they're
good
shit
shit.
Like
all
that
over it.
film when I
I
saw
didn't
it.
like it either.
I love it. I think it's one of the best Asian sort of revenge fucking films ever made,
Yeah.
hands down.
I've got the follow-up to the Hunger Games, Catching Fire.
I've not seen the first one.
I really,
like the
I
first
really can't be bothered with that at all.
I quite liked the first
It's a
one.
new Twilight, you know what I mean? But there's going to come a point where you can't get away from it and you'll just be sick of looking at it.
Gangster Squad, which is out early next
I
year.
fancy
Oh!
that. Oh, really
Saw the
fancy
trailer for that when I went to see Cloud Atlas in the States as well. Looks.
it. Is that them just put it back on? Is that them just put the trailer back out because they cancelled it during the Dark Knight shootings?
Had they?
Yeah, because the scene is a lot of guys walking into a cinema and gunning down folk in a
Is that
cinema.
what it was? Right.
So
I never saw it in the trailer, but it looks really good. There's a lot of big actors in it. Sean Penn's playing.
Ryan Gosling.
He's playing.
Sean Penn's playing Ryan Gosling in it.
You heard it here first, Bad. You heard it here first. Exclusive.
a man can play
Sean
anything.
Penn's playing. I can't mind the name of the guy he's playing. It's some famous gangster, and he's playing that part. Ryan Gosling is playing the lead role, I think. And there's a whole bunch of other folk in the trailer that you'll notice. So it looks good. Yep.
Looks good. We've got at least two Schwarzenegger films. We've got
Yep.
The Last Stand and
10?
10. Yep. are the
10
two.
looks good.
Aye.
Do you know who's directing that?
Do not tell me.
Training Day.
Training Day's directing that.
Training Day's directing that.
Same guy that did.
Denzel Washington. No, the guy that directed Training Day, I think. And End of Watch, I
End of
think
Watch,
that's his
aye.
new film.
Oh, nice.
I believe.
Could be
Or it's
interesting.
either that or it's the guy that wrote it.
Superman, Man of Steel.
I quite fancy that actually.
Possible Jink Robocop's going to be.
Get it the fuck.
Come on.
You've been watching this.
I
You've
think
been watching the
Mark
stills
ruined
from it.
any chance Robocop ever had of getting released, but he's fucking talking about the other.
Oh,
Aye, they probably had the last podcast and went, oh fuck, we need to change these things now because folk aren't into this.
Robocop Thor 2. We've got Anchorman 2.
oh yeah.
We've got Kick-Ass 2.
Yep.
Bridesmaids 2. Real Steel 2.
Real Steel 2.
Real Steel 2.
Yeah,
We've
sure.
got Machete 2 or Machete Kills.
Oh, that might not actually get released now.
Oh, what?
Just to throw a spanner in the works, one of the film companies that works alongside Troublemaker, which is owned by Robert Rodriguez, that's the director, is apparently in the middle of filing a lawsuit against it, which basically means that unless it's settled kind of quickly, it's likely to be shelved for the foreseeable future.
That better happen next year. We've also got Mad Max 5 with Tom Hardy.
Yep.
We've got the new one from, I can't remember his name, the guy that directed District 9. He's got a funny name. I can't remember his name. He's got a new one coming out with Matt Damon. Is it Elysium or Elysium or something like that? Elysium.
Yeah.
It's been pretty much under wraps. They haven't showed a lot kind of trailer wise or stuff. They were, even when they were getting asked what was the film about, he was keeping it kind of like.
Is that about another guy with a creepy wee horn?
Don't know, hope so. Love District 9. We've also got a new Leonardo DiCaprio film, The Wolf of Wall Street. We've got another Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D film. And also Stallone, The Tomb as well. That's just a handful of films that are on the upcome for next year.
We unscheduled Mark's Minute.
Oh,
so I
here we
forgot to
go.
do it. No, I was just going to say, just when you're talking about films,
I knew this was coming.
I didn't think of this until now. Oh, you fucker.
Lies.
Nearly fell there. Right, basically, Tom Hardy, just because when you mentioned Tom Hardy, he's been cast as Sam Fisher in the Splinter Cell films,
Oh, yeah.
which is interesting. Don't know if it's the right role for him or no, but also Michael Fassbender, in a related game to film adaptation, has been cast as
Well, it'll be Desmond.
Desmond.
In
in Assassin's Creed.
which Ubisoft, who are the video games company behind it, are heavily involved with it. In fact, I think it might be one that they're doing most of the work behind.
Right.
This will be, I think it's the first time a game studio has been pretty much handling the full control of the making of a film.
This is Mark's Minute, Duncan. What a joke.
Air horn the motherfucker.
The other big bit of film news that I think we should probably have a wee quick word about, because we haven't really spoken about it, is the massive Disney Star Wars buyout.
Oh, John.
So
How do you talk about that?
everybody probably knows about this now, but Disney's bought out Star
Well,
Wars.
but now we're talking about film I can chip in on and everybody's fucking bored.
Yes, go on, Baz.
I'm way here, but
Come on, Baz.
Fucking air horn at the ready.
Baz Ray's I Heart Collect t-shirt. He's wearing it now. He's I tell them then, Baz. How much did they pay?
Oh right, oh god, Disney have bought the rights for the Star Wars movies. They're talking about doing another trilogy.
Aye.
I've got to say, everybody's fucking moaning like fuck about it, but Disney did most of the.
the Marvel ones.
Yeah,
have
the
been
Marvel
involved
ones.
recently in the
They're
involving
fucking
it.
brilliant.
That's the
I'm no
argument
moaning.
that's being used. I'll be the moaner then. I'll be the moaner. What? I'll be the moaner here.
Yeah,
Right.
there you go.
Here's my gripe with the whole fucking shambles, right?
Ewoks.
Ewoks and they blink and they're not supposed to blink. Right, here's my problem with it. And fucking Lucas can sit there and say all he wants about how after the third one it was always supposed to be it was always supposed to be over 6 parts. That's why I started it in 4 and all the rest, right? But the whole purpose, the whole point of the Star Wars story is about essentially bringing balance to the Force, which they did at the end of the fucking 6th one. So what's the need to go and do anything else?
Because it was always...
Is it going to be set in the future?
was
Is it
always-
going to be set in the past? If it's going to be set in the past, then surely it should
No,
be
no, it's set in the
previous to
future.
fucking... I just don't see the fucking point.
It's set in the future because I think...
The Empire's destroyed.
Mark
There's
Hamill-
fucking two Jedis left. There's no fucking Sith left. What the fuck?
Well, we'll tell you the name of it is Return of the Sith.
Oh,
So Return of the Jedi, Return of the Sith. That's a working title at the moment anyway.
There's
Is
always
it-
a-
Gone this far.
apparently.
yeah,
Alright,
they're already talking about... apparently this was all in the pipeline
Oh, aye.
before the buy. I mean, this film was
Aye.
2015 release. And Disney have said it will come out in 2015. It will not stop.
Because I don't know
2015.
why I'm pointing over there, but I hit the Disneyland parks like the week after this deal happened, and it was flooded with Star Wars.
They bought the whole thing.
and figures and everything.
Everything. They
Um,
bought the entire LucasArts
and-
thing is being purchased, so it's gone.
Everything, and so, but this is the other big thing is because it could mean a lot of things for like the comics, the Star Wars comics. It could mean a lot of things because the Star Wars TV show that they kept
Yeah.
talking about, the live action TV show might have happened. But basically, it was 4 point whatever billion, and they've got 3 films scheduled: 2015, 2017, and 2019 are the 3 release dates that are planned. And I think the next one is.
It's the chicken egg thing, right? It's a chicken egg thing, right? Return of the Sith, right? That's brilliant. The Sith, there's always one master and one apprentice. If the fucking master's been destroyed and the apprentice has been destroyed, how does the new fucking apprentice become a master without a master?
Was there be another?
Boom!
It's like
Fucking
the ninjas.
paradox.
It's like the fucking ninjas. There's,
The ninjas are
there's
quietly
some-
bowing out. They're doing the right
There's
thing.
some
Star Wars should have done the
there's some
same.
Grand Sith Master somewhere.
I
and
love
he's got
Star
an
Wars.
apprentice.
You know for a fact I am a fucking
Well, this
huge
is
Star Wars
This
fan.
is. I'll put it in a nutshell for you. This is why, because everybody in the fucking anti's moaning about, oh, they're going to ruin, they're going to do this. The bottom line is, it's mere Star Wars. How could that be a bad thing?
Exactly.
If you don't like it, if you don't like them, just don't fucking watch
What
them.
I always find, everybody went, see the second set, everybody fucking moaned about them. Well, I think a lot of folk forget, right, I'm fucking nearly 40, right, and I was able to go to the cinema, fuck you. I went to the cinema and all that to see the original trilogies when they were coming out, with the possible exception of Star Wars. I'm maybe slightly too young for that, but folk then forget, by the time the second lot came out, the people that were going to the cinema like me at that time were now in their fucking 30s. Of course it's not going to be the same. Do you know what I mean? Because I actually believed there was stormtroopers the first fucking time I saw it. Do you know what I mean? Everybody's older. I thought the second films were quite
You,
good.
you,
I like
can't
them
tell
as
me,
well.
you can't
I like
tell
them
me
as
for
well.
a fact that you sat and watched the very, very first one, right?
I enjoyed
the
it.
Phantom Menace.
The Phantom Menace, and you sat through that and you enjoyed that.
Yeah, I did. I
the first time I
genuinely
saw it, I
did.
was
I
like,
genuinely
that
did.
was awesome.
They killed off the only interesting character in the entire fucking thing. They filled it with some sort of racially fucking stereotypical fucking weird, goofy looking fucking alien who spoke kind of half Rasta, half fucking, I don't know. He was in there for fucking comic relief, and the whole story was about trade negotiations and trade
I'll
embargoes.
tell you why I liked it. The thing is, that's what everybody says, right? And the thing is, I didn't
Kick me
like.
in the nuts. That's what I say.
I hear a lot of people saying that they hated it and that they don't count it and all that. Right? The bottom line is, you can listen to me, Duncan. Before I said you can put all the pins that you want and say, well, why did they do this? Why did they do that? This doesn't make sense. That's a plot hole. The bottom line is, see, when I watch it, I enjoy it. That's
I
it.
don't
That's
know.
all it is.
Yeah, I
It's
would
fun to
agree with
watch.
Mark on
That's it.
that.
The only thing that is good about this entire purchase is George Lucas can never ever get his grubby little hands on any of
Which
those
is
films
all-
again
which is all
and
the more
fucking
reason-
change them.
which is all the more reason that they could be
that
better.
itself is worth the fucking billions that Disney paid for it. I'll tell you that I will go and see the new one, but there will be no. I'll go and
They'll
see
still
it.
get my money. I'll tell you that much.
Oh well, I put a cinema card.
But I will not enjoy myself.
I'm not going in. I'm not going in with a hype machine going off about a new Star Wars film. I'll go and watch it on its own merits. But just now,
But the thing is, George Lucas had more and more control as the films went on to like the
Yeah, oh, aye.
the new prequels and
So it
things.
became an
so that
exercise in
now that
marketing.
he's out the picture and Disney have now got control, do you not think that it could be good? It's got potential to be. Disney did the Tron films, man.
we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. That was Mark's debate, half an hour.
Yes, thank you for that.
Mark's well, everybody did chip in a wee bit. So
What do you guys think? But then it tells. So,
Yeah, so that's up and coming. That's pretty much us for for another podcast.
For 2012.
For 2012 as well. As always, check out Duncan's Quickies on the YouTube. There is also one more. What?
Well, there's one more. I was about to say that I won't be the only one that will be doing video reviews from now on.
For the time being,
Aye.
Duncan's Quickies are the only ones that you can view. But in the future, there may be more quickies from other members of the Rock and Real Review team.
Who?
Blame me, it's not me. No.
Who specifically?
Is it
The
Mikey?
man that's asking.
I don't know. I've no idea. Anyway,
Maybe it's one of the new
I was-
guys. You should tell Dave. Tell them about the new guys.
a couple of new boys.
At
A
the
couple of
end,
new
end
boys.
of the podcast,
There's well, basically, we took on another couple of new guys, a couple of new reviewers, Paul and Graham, who have been reviewing their tits off for the
They have,
last
actually.
couple of months.
Indeed.
That explains so much. I didn't realise you'd taken on two, and I was going, Paul, because we were in some kind of conversation on Facebook, and I was going, so which one is doing the reviews? I thought it was him, but wait a minute, because they're talking about him, so it must be him. So now that explains it.
Yep. All is clear. So we now have another couple of reviewers. Paul and Graham are now chipping in and doing some some album reviews.
They're a bit further afield, and that's why they're not.
Yeah,
here.
that's why they're not here. Right? And plus, we couldn't really fit any more people in this room, to be honest,
Yeah.
really. So,
In the
yes,
studio, you mean, Dave? Don't ruin the fucking magic for the
Sorry.
listeners, big man.
in the mansions.
Rock and Real Mansion.
So check out the Quickies, Duncan's Quickies up on YouTube. Check out Oban FM Rock Market. I know Mikey's not here, but we're representing anyway.
Yeah.
Oban FM rockmarket.co.uk.
I
think that's what it is.
Sure.
Sorry if that's strong, Mikey. Google it, maybe. Playing us out, we have the Bastard Sons with their track Hot Town. It's from their latest EP, Bones, out now on Lockjaw Records. I've been Dave,
I've been Baz.
I've been Duncan.
And I've been Mark.
and we'll see you in 2013. Cheers.